Chapter 622, Good Friendship. Chapter 622, Good Friendship. The dark blue water jade was one of the best auxiliary materials to refine treasures of water class. It could increase the treasure's solubility and provide abundant power, which was precious. The phoenix bone stone was extremely hard. Except for some special earth flames, human flames in blacksmith's body couldn't even melt it. However, after the phoenix bone stone was melted into a hot fluid, it could increase the sharpness of weapons. Nurturing tricolored grass wasn't a material to refine treasures, but it was a primary ingredient of the original soul pellet. Also, it was a rare, precious herb. Cultivating materials in different colors and distinctive shapes piled up everywhere unsorted. Without attentive searching, people couldn't see how valuable these dust-covered piles were. Especially the Thunder Witch Wood. The Thunder Witch Wood was a dried branch of a 10,000-year ancient tree. Under constant striking of lightning and thunder from the nine skies over thousands of years, it was generated gradually. Under the refining of lightning and thunder, the nature of the wood would be changed. That log of wood would have the thunder and lightning power with an exquisite, natural wood grain. The wood grain gradually formed vegetation essence and the thunder and lightning aura. This was the essential wooden material for some unique items. Thunder Witch Wood was one of the three primary materials to conduct heaven flame refining divine technique. Yan had thought that it would be strenuous to find the Thunder Witch Wood due to its distinctive nature. He had never expected that he could find them in the beast territory. He almost jumped up in joy. The fiery dragon was a creature that could live several thousand years. The perpetual night forest had various precious natural resources and excellent materials scattered everywhere. They attracted many warriors of the martial spirit palace. However, of course, warriors couldn't be familiar with the forest as much as the beasts were. Where the rarest and the most precious treasures of this perpetual night forest were, the high-rank demonic beasts would know clearly. Fiery Dragon had collected his treasures over 1,000 years. He'd also robbed many warriors. It was natural that he could gather such big amount of cultivating materials. Yan's eyes brightened. He kept walking around the cave, and he couldn't hide his compliments. Sometimes he hissed as if he had gone crazy already. Fiery Dragon stood by the entrance of the cave, releasing an immense red halo. His grand body started to shrink. Magical earth and heaven energy distorted, moving rapidly in his body. Not long after that, the dragon's body had shrunk to human size. He had transformed into a mature, majestic human with a red face and a pair of fiery eyes. The man had one horn, jutting out of his forehead for around half a meter. Flames were twirling around that long horn, covering the miraculous flame patterns on it. Fine beast skin carvings meandered and expanded in his entire body, as though they were his natural costume, which could make people drop their jaws in awe. However, the stinky smell of fiery dragon stayed the same. It always nauseated people, giving fluttering butterflies in their stomach. That was how the monster clan was. Whether it could transform or not, this feature would never change. Anyway, they didn't care about their odor that much, as they always felt comfortable with it. The human form of Fiery Dragon was a little bit odd. He had a fluttering hair that looked like flames, and his face was really red. He walked to Yan and thundered. "So, are the materials I've accumulated enough to refine my body?" When the dragon turned into human, his characteristics seemed to have a little, miraculous change. He pointed at the soul horn on his head and asked anxiously, "This horn of mine is my crest. After you refine me, would it become ugly? Would it affect my whole aesthetic and markings?" Yan was surprised. He contemplated for a while and then shook his head. "No. After my refining, you will become more handsome and extraordinary than you are now. Even when you show your true form, you can show people your imposing, majestic markings." Fiery Dragon turned his head satisfyingly. "You don't make me hate you. As long as you cooperate well with me, I, Fiery Dragon, won't let you suffer a loss." While he was talking, he took out a bronze mirror from nowhere, dedicatedly observing his image in the mirror. He frowned and then said, "Human body isn't so comfortable. It isn't as strong as my true form either. Anyway, this shape looks really handsome." "I can't deny that for sure." Yan felt funny. He didn't expect that after Fiery Dragon had turned into human shape, his nature seemed to change a little bit. He became more pleased with himself. Although you have many kinds of materials here, it still lacks some. I have to go back to prepare. I'll be back soon. Yan frowned. He thought that he needed to comfort his side first to prevent the Yangs from taking any unusual action. You should be hurried. I don't have much time. You must prepare everything properly and quickly. Fiery Dragon swung his arm, indicating that Yan should go and return here as fast as possible. Yan smiled and nodded. Suddenly, he let out a dry cough, talking gingerly. Hey, I need you to make a deposit. The Yang family still had many treasures needed to refine. It wasn't that he didn't have enough energy, but it was the lack of materials. Deposit? Fiery Dragon thundered angrily. You want a deposit? You haven't done anything yet. Cough, cough. Yan also recognized he was a bit hurried. You misunderstood it. I want the deposit to test the quality of the materials beforehand. I will never break our deal midway. My people are all in your territory. Don't worry. Fiery Dragon rolled his eyes and grunted, as if he was considering whether Yan was trustworthy or not. After a long while, Fiery Dragon thought that with his power of a level 9 beast, Yan couldn't trick him. Thus, he nodded to allow Yan to take a part of the deposit and leaving. Yan wasn't greedy. He took different materials with Fiery Dragon's witness. Then, he stooped to press his excited heart, leaving with satisfaction. Seemed like Fiery Dragon didn't know the value of the thunder which would. When Yan put the logs into his storage ring, Fiery Dragon didn't even raise his eyebrow. The dragon was a little bit surprised, as he thought that his vision was a little bit narrow. The shelter of the Yang family. Tian Emperor, Cao Dao, and Shi Jian were waiting with many worries. Their faces gradually darkened. Especially Shi Jian, he kept walking back and forth. He was worried, as if he had a flame burning his heart. He couldn't help but scream all the time. Something unexpected has happened. That kid likes to show off. Not good, we can't stay idle. Among them, Shi Jian was the one who loved Yan the most. He was always worried about the young man. Seeing him leave for quite a long time, he couldn't sit still anymore. Shi Jian was constantly shouting, as he regretted he couldn't attack the Fiery Dragon's territory. Young Tian Emperor wasn't moved. He sat there calmly like a mountain. Cao Dao squinted. His gossamer aura fluttered here and there, but he didn't say anything. All of a sudden, screaming and screeching rose from outside together, with the noise of busting and hustling people. Young Tian Emperor disappeared. The fiery flame gold lion and 10 other level 6 or level 7 beasts were escorting Yan, crushing the ancient trees around to get to the Yangs amidst a bloody scent. Yan was riding the fiery flame gold lion. His face was calm, and he was smiling. He seemed to discuss something with the fiery flame gold lion. The arrogant, tyrannical lion behaved well. Its big eyes even showed that it was servile to someone. Don't worry. I will refine you well. I'll do my best. Seeing the Yang family appear in his vision, under their eyes gawking with fear, Yan patted the fiery flame gold lion at his forehead. He promised the gold lion and then jumped off. People of the Yang family, the Shi family, the Chao family, the Devil Dark clan, and the Winged clan flooded out from the corners near the lake. They were all stunned, looking at him, not knowing what was going on. You guys should go back first. In 3 days max, I'll visit you guys there. Yan laughed cheerily, advising the beasts in front of him. Everybody else was dumbstruck. All beasts had intelligence, as they nodded in unison. Then, as he had advised, they retreated orderly. They seemed to escort Yan back home, instead of forcing and monitoring him as they had imagined. Many beautiful young maidens were stunned, before they started to cheer up. They had thought that under the beast's threat and force, they had to move one more time to another shelter. Unexpectedly, after Yan visited the beasts, they now had a new hope. The whole picture had overturned to a good result they had never imagined. However, what surprised them was still behind. The fiery flame gold lion left. Yan rose one arm and announced, "We will start to refine treasures again." Weapons that haven't been improved, you guys should give me all. Cheers reverberated like thunder by the lake. Everybody was stirred up, complimenting him excitedly. Chao Chiodao's squinting eyes slightly opened. He looked at the young man with surprise, nodding in approval in his heart. All of a sudden, he thought that their decision was perhaps correct. Maybe, this kid can lead us to claim a new world. He thought as his face was struck discreetly. At the entrance of the perpetual night forest, a silhouette hovered like a night owl in a deep place of the thick forest. More than 10 warriors of the Ghostmark clan at Spirit Realm and Sky Realm were standing underneath the man. They were waiting for something. Soon, a Ghostmark clan's young man flew out of the thick forest. He kneeled down and greeted with a low voice. Grand Sage. Comoros was hovering in the forest. He nodded and then frowned. You've been in the perpetual night forest for half a year. Do you have any useful information? I can't detect the precise direction of the secret domain. Members of the 7 ancient factions don't always stay inside. They often go out and operate in the perpetual night forest. That man was still on his knee as he was reporting the situation with a face that had been through wind and frost. A small, unknown force? Survivors in the perpetual night forest? Why? Why didn't they go to the secret domain? Comoros knitted his brows as he couldn't understand. Grand Sage, I found something strange. Among them, there's a clan called the Dark Devil Clan. They look very similar to us. Except for the innate tattoo, their aura is astonishingly consistent with us. The man kept silent for a while, contemplated, then reported. Grand Sage Comoros of the Ghostmark clan trembled on listening to his report. He opened his eyes and then shouted, "What? My words are true. If any of them aren't proven, Grand Sage can sentence me to death." The man lifted his head, his face fearful. Until now, I didn't believe it. But it's true. And Shiryen, that brat, is with them. The clan that looks similar to us considers him their master. Get me there. Quick! Comoros shouted sharply, his face dark and ugly. Chapter 623. Demonic Beast Sheds the Mortal Skin. Chapter 623. Demonic Beast Sheds the Mortal Skin. In the center of a scorching fire sea deep inside the limestone cave laid a giant dragon covered in thick beast scales. It was screeching and howling fiercely. Flows of blood-like flame covered the scale all over his body. They were blazing, overflowing towards his head, sizzling and getting into his horn. His soul horn sparkled like red melting iron, while scarlet flames were emitting continuously. A neat silhouette was floating above the fire sea. He was waiting in silence, his face stern. He was making some mysterious hand seals, which seemed to have their own lives as they swam lively like fishes in the fire sea. The temperature of the limestone cave was increasing unceasingly. Feeble light sparkled in the fiery flame gold lions and the silver-horned giant python's eyes as they were watching from other places. They didn't dare to breathe loudly, as if they were afraid that would cause some bad influence. Blood-red flames moved randomly like lightning on fiery dragon. Each flame flower had a streak of a strange light. This strange light was the essence after the refining materials were melted, which had unmeasurably magical effects. Flames guided those strange beams of light, seeping through the slits between the dragon's scales to enter his body, which increased his body's tenaciousness to an unimaginable degree. An immense fiery halo expanded like a natural light cage and shot backward from the dragon's scaled body. In the place submerged in red flames like this cave, the giant dragon's body wasn't significant, but the heat it was emitting was intimidating. The fiery flame gold lion and the silver-horned giant python suddenly had their minds clear. They held their breaths, while radiant light sparkled from their eyes. Their soul fluctuated as their hearts became restless. The fiery dragon was screeching painfully. Thundering explosions echoed in the cave that even burst off the rigid rock wall of the cave. The man hovering above the fire sea kept his posture indifferently and didn't move, as though he was a statue sitting neatly in the air. Even the hand seals he was making were ceased. Shortly, he opened his eyes. Freezing electric currents shot out from deep inside his eyes, weaving in the void. These currents were added with imposing soul fluctuations, pouring furiously into the fire sea. So many treasures of heaven and earth that melted and refined in the fire sea now received the life seal. They transformed into beams of light and rumblingly overwhelmed the fiery flame flood dragon's body, without even a drop remaining. The flames shrank gradually. After 10 breathings, the fire sea vanished, leaving only one pure fire flower bouncing and dancing before it disappeared into an ancient blood-red ring on the young man's finger. The heated limestone cave gradually restored its quietness. People could even hear the noise when a needle fell to the ground. The giant body of the fiery dragon had a garnet halo of fiery flame moving on his body in the center of the scorching lava rock bed. This halo was dazzling like a strange meteor. His natural scale armor was covered with a layer of light energy, which actually looked like some liquid lingering on the dragon, as it was still releasing the extreme heat. The single horn on his head dazzled, as if it was an earth-shaking divine weapon that could even shake people's hearts. Just like the sunlight, it was hard to conceal. Fiery Dragon balled his body, breathing slowly as he was sensing the changes of his body and adjusting the rhythm of his energy to be consistent with the energy of heaven and earth. Fiery Dragon seemed to have a flash of recognition as a light of wisdom sparkled in his giant eyes. Time seemed to stop right at this moment. Afterward, the giant body of the fiery dragon shook continually. Dirty black contaminants seeped through the gaps between his scales. A stinky, pungent smell that could turn people's heart and lungs upside down permeated the whole place. Even the fiery flame gold lion and the silver-horned giant python, which were the beasts themselves, couldn't endure it. They had almost plugged their nostrils and ran away. This was the first time they realized how uncomfortable it was for humans to stay near the beasts. Only the fiery dragon didn't notice anything unconsciously when he eventually woke up. At first, he was astounded. Then, he laughed contentedly, his laughter soaring up to the sky and shaking the entire limestone cave. Clean it up. Fiery Dragon stopped laughing. His garnet eyes raked through the silver-horned giant python and assigned it nonchalantly. This imposing, solemn manner was inborn. Although he didn't intend it, it could storm to the deep place in people's hearts, making their souls recognize his existence. The silver-horned giant python suddenly got it. It stayed dumbstruck for half a moment before screaming with fright. Master Fiery Dragon. You have shed your mortal skin. When demonic beast completed its shedding process, its aura and blood would be refined thoroughly. At that time, the nauseating odor of the beasts would be washed away. Quite the contrary, they would have a pleasant aroma. That was the monster clan. Only if the beast could shed its mortal skin could it finally become a member of the monster clan. Its body and blood would have a miraculous change. Its demon power could move easily in its body, and the monster could urge its power at any minute. The challenging gap between the demonic beasts and the monsters was this mortal skin shedding process. Fiery Dragon cracked a big, wild smile. In his laughter, his giant body shrank, forming the shape of human flesh body. He looked as imposing as a mountain, with blood-red skin and a beautiful, radiant horn on his forehead. Taking out a bronze mirror, Fiery Dragon observed his new appearance seriously. He couldn't help but laugh contentedly again. Wahahaha. Not bad. Really not bad. You fella, you have good tricks. From now on, you're my friend. My real friend. Fiery Flame Gold Lion and the Silver-Horned were shivering in thrill. A powerful desire sparkled in their eyes, like a raging fire that could burn the young man. The silver-horned giant python was hesitant. It swept the tail, which was as big as a tree trunk, over the place. A strong wind blew through, washing away the contaminants from the fiery dragon's body instantly. The materials in your cave are consumed for the most part. Only to refine your body, I almost used them all. Retrieving the earth flame, Shi Yan was still relaxed. Suddenly, he said, actually, I can help you refine a good weapon if you have enough materials with fire attributes. Well, yeah, in just a short time, I can't help Fiery Flame Lion and Silver-Horned Python refine their bodies. We don't have enough materials. Fiery Flame Gold Lion and Silver-Horned Giant Python shifted anxiously. Their eyes gazed at Fiery Dragon while crying. Master Fiery Dragon, do you have any solution? Fiery Dragon swung his arm to calm Fiery Flame and Silver-Horn down. As long as we have enough materials, you will proceed, right? In principle, yeah. Shiyan smiled humbly. Hey, the blood-maned giant ape is also a level 9 beast. I think he has collected cultivating materials for so many years like you, so it shouldn't be less than your collection, right? The fiery flame lion and the silver-horned python had their eyes sparkled while they looked frightened. Fiery dragon was bewildered for a while. He frowned, but didn't say anything. After a long while, he spoke up. I'm not sure. Shiyan smiled as he knew that Beast had misunderstood his idea. I don't ask you to attack him. I meant, the blood-maned giant ape is also from your clan, right? He has collected a lot of materials, perhaps. Fiery Dragon was surprised. He nodded, but then his eyes flared with a brutal light. Are you going to help blood-maned giant ape to refine his body too? What's the matter? Asked Shiyan. Fiery Dragon got enraged immediately. That B***starred is my archenemy. He always wants to claim my territory. I will never let him improve his power, he said resolutely. His face reddened and distorted in anger. Only he knew how tremendous the benefits his body got from Shiyan's refining process were. Shedding mortal skin was just a byproduct. The current power of his body was increased at least one level. Even if he had to fight with the blood-maned giant ape, he would have a chance to win. The perpetual night forest is so vast, but does it have only the 2 strong members of the monster clan, including you and the blood-maned giant ape? Don't you two have other enemies? Shiyan beamed a smile. At this moment, Fiery Dragon was startled and discolored. As though he was thinking of something perilous, his eyes shrank, and he even retracted his neck. Of course not. There's someone stronger than us. At present, the perpetual night forest isn't a peaceful place. Members of the other clans often operate here. Besides Human Clan, members of the Demon Clan and the Ghostmark Clan are also present. If you can exchange refining materials with the blood-maned giant ape, both of you will receive bigger benefits. It's good for you too. Shiyan continued to persuade him. The amount and types of cultivating materials in the Fiery Dragon's cave had seriously surprised him. Thinking about the blood-maned giant ape, he could almost confirm that what the other treasured were also rich and full of variety. Perhaps he had stored many things Shiyan had desired. At this moment, he didn't care about principle. As long as he could improve his competence, he didn't care if he had to engage in business with the pagans. Not only did he want to have a good relationship with Fiery Dragon, but he also wanted to get to the other hotshots around through Fiery Dragon. As long as they became his business partners, Shiyan could collect the most valuable cultivating materials. Currently, I don't want to talk with that blood-maned giant ape. We should slow down for a while. Fiery Dragon kept silent for a while. If the cultivating materials are not enough, I know a place we can take some. That place is a little bit dangerous. Perhaps you would like it. Where? Shiyan's eyes brightened. Indeed, he was interested in such a place. It is also in the perpetual night forest. But it isn't in my territory, Fiery Dragon contemplated for a while. It's in that blood-maned giant ape's territory. However, he has never dared to reach there. As you know blacksmithing and the formation, perhaps you can get in. Is it related to the Human Clan? Shiyan's spirit was high. Yes. All right, take me there. If we find something, we will gain big benefits. We should avoid that blood-maned giant ape. He's not someone we can provoke. Currently, I don't want to fight with him. I'll listen to you. Shiyan and Fiery Dragon plan their next steps. However, a sound stone in Shiyan's storage ring started to send a fierce soul fluctuation before they started to move. Shiyan discolored in fear. He hurried to take the sound stone and sink his soul into it. Fiery Dragon didn't say anything, just watching him in silence. When he saw Shiyan's worried complexion, he knitted his brows. What's happened? People of the Ghostmark clan are in my shelter. They aren't so friendly. I have to go back. Shiyan put the sound stone away, waving his hands and then disappearing. Ghostmark clan, Fiery Dragon was surprised. He hesitated for a while, then assigned his guards. Fiery Flame, Silver-horned, you take our soldiers. We will go there and see. Master, we aren't involved with the Ghostmark clan. We don't need to go there, Silver-horned reminded him. I know it isn't necessary, but that kid is useful to us. I want him to live well. Fiery Dragon snorted. Then, he checked his appearance a little bit. After he felt he looked perfect, he left the limestone cave. Chapter 624. Breaking Rules. Chapter 624. Breaking Rules. Comoros was hovering above the Yang family's area, his face grimaced. Not far beneath him were the two leaders of the Dark Devil clan, Tian Emperor and Kaba. Their complexions weren't so good as they were looking at him as well in silence. Chao Qiu Dao and young Tian Emperor put on a solemn face. Electric currents were moving in their sleeves, and essence chi filled their secret treasures. Their tunics fluttered, even though there was no wind. Their aura was gloomy and distant. This was going to be a big tense fight. After Comoros arrived, he asked Tian Emperor and Kaba to take up the Dark Devil clan and leave with him. However, Tian Emperor and Kaba had denied. Comoros kept silent the whole time. However, his calm aura gradually surged like the torrential river. It was increasing unceasingly. Among this crowd, Yang Tian Emperor and Chao Qiu Dao had experience fighting with the peak of spirit realm experts. When Comoros appeared here, they immediately knew the old man had crossed the boundary of the spirit realm, entering the true god realm. That was why Yang Tian Emperor and Chao Qiu Dao didn't dare to take action rashly. They chose to notify Shuryen first. Although they weren't sure if Shuryen had a countermeasure, they knew he had many secrets. Perhaps he could overturn this difficult situation. Grand Sage Comoros had never felt so painful as he had today. Their noble members of the Ghostmark clan had never thought of submitting to human clan, even if they were about to be extinguished. They had lived and survived, struggling in the hope of being revived one day. Although Tian Emperor and Kaba's group didn't have the ghost scripture tattoo on their bodies, their unique aura and physique showed that they were from a branch of the Ghostmark clan. The blood flowing in their bodies had started from the same origin. However, their fellows had denied walking on the same path with them, as they were persistent to be with a human kid. This was humiliation. The humiliation of the entire Ghostmark clan. I don't care what you've been through. This time I come and meet you here, I won't let you live this shameful life anymore. Comoros took a deep breath as his face became sinister. I give you 1 day to prepare. At that time, you go with me, or I will destroy all of you shameless people. Then, Comoros tried to press down his discontent, turning around to leave. However, at this moment, Shuryen suddenly descended in a flash of electric current, appearing 10 jung away from him. Comoros' eyes shrank while a murderous aura shot out from his eyes. He thundered, "Kid, you dare to come here? When we were at the Shady Firmament Old Mound, many of my fellows were killed. Even me. You've attacked us maliciously. Do you want to die?" When they were in the Shady Firmament Old Mound, his power hadn't recovered yet, but he had taken risks and attacked Shuryen. At that time, he hurt his soul. From that day, Comoros remembered Shuryen. He regretted that he couldn't kill him earlier. If Bao Ao hadn't advised him beforehand, he would have taken action immediately when he saw Shuryen. Shuryen gathered his spirit, holding the Sky Destroyer tightly in his hand. The 3 bone thorns he had forged were floating behind him, while a pallid mist of the negative energy meandered around his body unceasingly. They now looked like evil tentacles. Shuryen's entire body had a strange and evil aura. He didn't know of the conversation between Bao Ao and Comoros. The experience in the Shady Firmament Old Mound told him that this Grand Sage of the Ghostmark clan was the peerless expert at the true god realm. He was strong enough to encounter any leaders of the 7 ancient factions in the Divine Great Land. Thus, when Shuryen arrived, he had prepared to have a bloody fight. "You Ghostmark clan, why don't you stay in the Shady Firmament Old Mound? What do you come to the Perpetual Night Forest for? Even if you want to do something, you should keep your eyes on the 7 ancient factions, not us." As Shuryen found that Comoros didn't want to attack him, he relaxed his nerves a bit. Then, Comoros pointed at Tian Emperor and Kaba, speaking coldly. "Although they aren't from the main bloodline of my clan, and they don't have the inheritance, they are still of the same origin as us. I come here to take them back with us. As long as you don't interfere, I will erase the grudge we've made at the shady firmament old mound. From now on, I won't trouble you anymore. Young Master Yen, Tian Emperor and Kaba shouted in unison. Shi Yen frowned, faintly talking to them. You can decide yourself. We pledge that we will follow you even if we have to die. Tian Emperor and Kaba expressed themselves at the same time. Shi Yen cracked a smile silently, looking at Kamaro's. Have you heard that? Kamaro's face distorted while his eyes sparkled like viper's eyes. He nodded and said, Then, I will wash the humiliation, which is you. He didn't wait for one day as he had said, taking action all of a sudden. The seal in his palm was like a maze of formations. Under an immense, vibrating light, it expanded to a miraculous barrier, slowly falling from the sky. Cold, mysterious energy moved in the sky, overflowing from everywhere and pouring into the barrier. The barrier then emitted a fluctuation that could break souls, drifting away lives. With some earth-destructive Upanishads, it was expanding silently. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Strange noises echoed in the void, while branches of ancient trees above their heads quietly turned into ashes. Light of the sun, moon, and stars was shining, but it couldn't pierce through the barrier, which made it more perfect. People couldn't see any leaks or cracks. It was the exterminating mark aimed at the souls. The coverage of this barrier wasn't big. It had just barricaded the members of the Dark Devil clan. Under the energy waves of the barrier, members of the Dark Devil clan, including Tian Emperor and Kaba, couldn't move. Their soul power seemed to be chained. If they urged their power, their head would receive a head-splitting pain. The eyes of Tian Emperor and Kaba bulged, their faces filled with fear as they felt the temperature of their bodies decreasing. Kamaro's was the grand sage of the Ghostmark clan who kept the written charm scripture. Of course, he knew which barrier was the best to deal with his own kind. When the old man took action, he used the fierce attack on Tian Emperor and Kaba, leaving them no way to resist. Young Tian Emperor and Chao Qiu Dao looked at Shi Yen. Shi Yen nodded quietly. Crack! He shouted all of a sudden as his soul consciousness shook furiously. Light blades that naked eyes couldn't see rocketed to the sky. A space power that could tear every kind of barrier appeared between his two palms. The void above the Dark Devil clan was torn apart, revealing a five-colored crack. An aura that could swallow every creature or object stormed out from the cracks as numerous light spots exploded. The barrier Kamaro's had condensed looked as if it had fallen into a bottomless abyss, disappearing instantly. Right at that moment, Fiery Dragon and Fiery Flame, Silver-Horned, had just arrived at the scene. From a far distance, Fiery Dragon discolored, his face bewildered. Master Fiery Dragon, what's that? Fiery Flame gulped, his face disbelieving. Space power, Fiery Dragon confirmed. The so-called Great Space Fission, if nothing unexpected, is because of Shi Yen. All of the alien tribes, well, we should thank him. Fiery Flame and Silverhorn nodded continually, as they thought that Shi Yen would refine their bodies, so of course, they had to thank him a lot. You. Kamaro's was astounded, his face twisted. In the shady firmament old mound, you used this technique to dissolve our attack. And you had even hurt my soul. After Shi Yen had torn space to solve Kamaro's attack, he had consumed half of his energy. He was pale, beaming a forced smile. I don't want to fight to the death with you. I just want to live in peace. Don't force me, or else we will hide in the space crack together. An expert specialized in space power, when he decided to perish together, could be a nightmare of all enemies. In the history of the Grace mainland, there was a warrior cultivating space power. When he got besieged by many other experts, as he knew he couldn't escape, he paid a painful price of burning his soul to rupture the whole space, making many space slits to bury himself and all of his enemies. Warriors who were cultivating space power, if they wanted to die together, could always drag the higher realm opponents to death. Of course, Kamaro's knew the evil feature of space power. When he was about to launch the second strike, he couldn't help but hesitate. Right at this moment, Fiery Dragon suddenly barged in. He walked to the front of Shi Yen, cleared his throat, and then thundered. You old man of the Ghostmark clan, Shi Yen is my distinguished guest. You shouldn't dream to mess up here. If you dare kill people here, I will make you lose your face. While Fiery Dragon was talking, he had returned to his true form. Fire flared up from his entire body. His horn was polished and shining as his energy surged vehemently. As his scales moved, light waves rippled out like water. All made him look imposingly overwhelming like a divine beast. Kamaro's face got stiff. He dully looked at Fiery Dragon as his face became more grimaced. You have also befriended him? Don't you know that he's human and you are a beast of the monster clan? Of course I know it. After Fiery Dragon had transformed, his voice was more echoing and rumbling, which could even slam people's eardrums. I don't care about the human clan or the Ghostmark clan. Who can benefit me? That one is Fiery Dragon's friend. Shameless. Kamaros was so indignant that he was shivering. Do you still have any moral principles of the monster clan? You are a beast, but you are befriending a human. Do you know what you are doing? Old man, don't babble. I must protect this kid. Fiery Dragon didn't bother with him. I know you have the second sky of True God Realm cultivation base, but you shouldn't think that you can do anything you want here. Mwahahaha. Although I've just reached level 9, I'm not afraid of you. I think you can see my markings, right? Do you know how strong I am now? Fiery Dragon was moving and shaking his body contentedly. Flame light expanded everywhere. He looked a bit narcissistic. Kamaros changed his complexion. He gritted his teeth indignantly, glaring at Shiryen. Wait for me. Then, he turned around and disappeared like light gray smoke. Shiryen, I've helped you threaten the strong enemy away. How do you prepare to thank me? Fiery Dragon waved his tail, looking at Shiryen delightedly, talking as if he was showing his merit. You have to join us for that event. We have to go together. And, you have to agree to. Got it, Shiryen sighed. He shook his head as he felt amused. Don't worry. I know my grudge and gratitude are different. You should prepare. We will go there shortly. It seems weird these days. Perhaps the seal is about to break. You should be hurried, urged Fiery Dragon. Shiryen was surprised, as curiosity swelled in his heart. Chapter 625, Mirror Lake. Chapter 625, Mirror Lake. After the great change of heaven and earth's energy, the sun, the moon, and the stars didn't take turns to shine in the sky anymore. More and more strange mysteries were found in this vast continent. Alien tribes came out of nowhere and became the overlord of the whole continent. The previous rulers were chased away, and they could only retract their heads, hiding in the secret domain. Human clan declined while alien tribes thrived. The known rules were broken. Many forbidden places became vital again, nurturing magical changes, making the divine Great Land change further. Ancient civilizations were unsealed, and refuge tribes returned. Many events, which shouldn't have occurred, revealed themselves one after another. When Shiryen listened to Fiery Dragon's description, he wasn't so surprised. Another place in the divine Great Land had exposed its magical mysteries due to the change of heaven and earth. Fiery Dragon, Fiery Flame, and Silverhorn took the lead. They were really cautious, as they were afraid they could wake the blood-maned giant ape in his territory. Shiryen took precautions as well. He concealed his aura and calmed down his soul fluctuations, not daring to sense wantonly. Blood-maned giant ape's level was higher than the Fiery Dragon. In the perpetual night forest, he was a truly dangerous character. Among the beasts of the monster clan, his fame was impressive. Usually, no one dared to provoke him. Of course, Shiryen didn't want to fight to death with him. Shiryen wanted Tian Emperor and Di Shan to escort him. These two people had a profound cultivation base and various experiences. They would be a big help on this trip. Fiery Dragon didn't want that, but he had to agree begrudgingly. Anyway, Fiery Dragon was a monster. It was hard for him to go with Shiryen already. With Tian Emperor and Di Shan accompanying, when other members of the monster clan found that it would be hard for him to establish good relationships with other beasts in the perpetual night forest. This group of human and monster moved forward. They avoided the beasts which submitted to the blood-maned giant ape and took the way around to reach the target. Half a day later, Fiery Dragon sighed as he took in the faint smell of water. We're almost there. Shi was struck, his face smiling. Seems we're lucky. We didn't encounter any henchmen of that blood-maned giant ape. Otherwise, we would be in big trouble. Fiery Dragon shot a strange light from his eyes, looking at Shi oddly. Hey, you want to meet blood-maned, right? Why do you say so? Shi was surprised. If he appears, perhaps you can form a good relationship with him. You want to refine his body, just like you did for me, right? Grunted Fiery Dragon. Shi was stunned. He smiled broadly. Well, I do have this thought, but it isn't strong. I'm not sure if the blood-maned giant ape could be like you. I don't know if he would agree to cooperate with human or not. Haha, I'm good recently. As long as you and I cooperate well, I don't think I need to deal with blood-maned. The message hidden in his words was, if you don't cooperate with me well, I will find blood-maned and make a deal with him. Fiery Dragon wasn't stupid, and he understood that. He mumbled for a while, then spoke up again, more solemnly. Among the monster clan, there aren't many wise beasts like me. You shouldn't keep that thought in your head. Otherwise, you can't have anything, and you will hurt yourself, too. Of course, I know Master Fiery Dragon's the most practical beast, and you are the best ally. Shi laughed. Fiery Dragon knew Shi actually didn't think what he said. But he ignored it, just laughing as if he had his own ideas. Fiery Flame and Silverhorn were cautious enough not to intervene them. They kept their mouths shut, listening to the two's conversation. Light of anxiety sparkled in their eyes. Their bodies hadn't been refined yet, and they hadn't shed their mortal skin either. Of course, they didn't dare to cause grudge against Shi. They just wanted to make the relationship between Shi and Fiery Dragon the best. Over there, Fiery Dragon suddenly became tense, talking in a low tone. Be careful. Although that blood-maned giant ape won't check the place regularly, he does arrange guards. We have to avoid them with our best. Shi and Tian Emperor nodded, indicating that they understood. Everybody continued moving further. All of a sudden, a beast corpse hindered their way. That beast was around 15 meters long. It was a giant snake, whose body was covered in flame pattern. The snake had a triangular head. The corpse laid on the ground, as its body was cut off into several pieces. Blood had dried for a long time. At first glance, Silverhorn couldn't help but hiss maliciously. Flame-patterned viper. It didn't die because of fighting with another beast. Young Tian Emperor frowned, scrutinizing the flat cut on the snake's body. He affirmed a sharp weapon had chopped it off. Should be an excellent treasure. The fire-patterned viper is a level 7 beast, as strong as the Sky Realm warrior of human clan. As we can see, it was killed so easily. Its opponent was really tremendous, said Fiery Flame faintly. Humans, Fiery Dragon discolored. He suddenly spoke up, someone is here. They are faster than us. That flame viper is the blood-maned giant ape's underling. It guarded this place. It should be the humans who killed the snake. Yang Tian Emperor and Di Shan darkened their faces as a murderous aura expanded. Especially Di Shan, his malicious face distorted as if he were an enraged beast. People could even feel his resentment through his aura. Talking about formidable humans in here, no doubt they were from the 7 ancient factions. These days, the 7 ancient factions had been cruel to the Dark Devil clan and the Winged clan. Many members of the Winged clan were killed. Even Di Shan was hurt severely. Get in. Shi observed everywhere, then said coldly. Everybody continued their trip. Not long after that, they saw more corpses of the beasts. According to Fiery Dragon, these beasts were the blood-maned giant ape's henchmen. From the traces on the bodies, humans had killed them. Their demon crystals had been snatched. Some were skinned, and some had their bones missing. Apparently, someone wanted to collect cultivating materials from their bodies. Besides the human clan, who would do that? Raging flame was burning in Fiery Dragon's, Fiery Flame's, and Silverhorn's eyes. They were near to the target, but they were about to reach the limit. As they were all beasts, although Fiery Dragon and Blood-maned didn't get along well, seeing their clansmen being killed tragically like that, their crystals were taken, along with their skin, their bones, of course, they felt indignant. Shi frowned, but he still kept silent. Eventually, a crystal-clear lake that looked like a big bright mirror appeared in their visions. This lake was around 10 mu. Luxuriant foliage grew densely around the lake. This calm lake looked like a flat mirror with no ripples. From a bird's-eye view, they couldn't see things inside the lake, but only the reflected images. Energy fluctuations were thick here. A faint fog meandered above the lake, and a fresh scent permeated everywhere that could ease people's minds. Shiryan walked to the lake and then floated aloft to observe. He couldn't see anything in the bottom of the lake, but only his reflected image. This lake was really a mirror with no ripple. Extremely weird. That's a strange barrier. No matter how hard you look, you can't see anything down there. Fiery Dragon flew toward him, explaining, "This lake is strange. I've tried to get in, but I was stopped. I couldn't jump down. Bloodmaned has tried too. Apparently, he didn't succeed. No one knows what stays in the bottom of this lake. Let me try." Young Tian Emperor smiled as a thought rose in his head. A flying sword sparkled with cold light and stabbed towards the lake. Swoosh! The flying sword flashed, disappearing into the lake. However, it caused no ripple. Young Tian Emperor discolored in fright. He was astounded. My connection with the flying sword was cut off directly. Items without life can get through the lake and arrive at the bottom. Fiery Dragon mocked. Do you want to try? Okay. Young Tian Emperor beamed a faint smile. An explosive energy fluctuation expanded from him instantly. His aura surged torrentially as he stormed towards the lake. Fiery Dragon, Fiery Flame, and Silverhorn jolted up in fear. Yang Tian Emperor only had the second sky of Spirit Realm cultivation base. However, when he burst out his power, his energy fluctuation weren't different from that of the peak of Spirit Realm warriors. Fiery Dragon, Fiery Flame, and Silverhorn were all the hotshots of the monster clan. At first glance, they got to know the dangerous features of Yang Tian Emperor. However, what surprised people more was still to come. Yang Tian Emperor was barging in like a sharp sword, but he was halted when he touched the lake's surface. The tranquil lake was pushed inwards a little bit under such a furious impact. The eyes of Shiryan and Dishan shrank as they were all astounded. Young Tian Emperor's energy surged while his abundant aura rippled vehemently, as he was using the secret technique of the Yang family, balling his fist and pounding on the lake like a drilling machine. However, he couldn't break the seal. No use. Fiery Dragon shook his head. You're strong, indeed, much stronger than I thought. But it won't work. Even Bloodmaned had tried to break the seal here. At that time, he was at rank 1 level 9. He couldn't break it. So, you could never break it. Young Tian Emperor was dumbstruck. Then, he quit determinately. He got back to Shiryan's location and shook his head. Something strange, indeed. Shiryan kept silent. He squinted, releasing his soul consciousness, trying to intrude the lake. His soul consciousness hadn't even reached the lake, yet a tenacious force had swiped it away. Shiryan couldn't get into the lake. The Purgatory True Flame is there. The one you know should be there, too. All of a sudden, the ice-cold flame sent him its sole thought. The earth flame can pierce through this seal. That's the supple power of water. You can't forcefully get through. You can only gather the power of the fiery flame to make a passage. Right after the ice-cold flame sent its thought to Shiryan, his soul consciousness had sensed a faint heat from the lake. Shiryan tried to sense further, then he could confirm it was the Purgatory True Flame. Anyway, why was Yi Changfeng in the lake? He couldn't figure it out. However, he didn't want to dig in further. Shiryan summoned the earth flame and asked it to attack the supple power of the water. Chapter 626. The Star Original Essence. Chapter 626. The Star Original Essence. The earth flame was like a fire ribbon, burning the water of the lake. It was strange that the water surface Yang Tian Emperor couldn't pierce through seemed to be melted under the scorching heat of the earth flame. Gradually, a fire path was formed in the middle of the tender lake. Fiery Dragon, Fiery Flame, and Silverhorn had their eyes brightened. They were excited. Yang Tian Emperor smiled, looking at him with compliments. We can go now. As Shiryan saw the seal of the lake was cracked, he nodded and then stormed over the fire path. Fiery Dragon's group followed close behind him. The place under the surface looked like a bright mirror. After a dazzlingly bright layer, they met a wet, sluggish area. While Shuryen hadn't adapted to the light yet, he heard some rumbling noises. When he could see things clear again, Shuryen found himself in a strange underwater world. He was floating in a deep blue area, and there was a glorious bright space above his head. The world in this lake was multiple times bigger than the lake itself. They didn't see any sea monsters or fishes in this underwater world, only some sparse seaweed and algae. So many stones radiated dazzlingly on the bottom of the lake. Energy fluctuations rippled densely. Top-grade essence crystals. At first glance, Shuryen couldn't help but shout joyfully. He was overjoyed. Essence crystals were the foundation of the warriors. With essence crystals, warriors didn't need to depend on heaven and earth's spiritual chi to cultivate. The top-grade essence crystal was scarce. Each piece was the essential auxiliary material to refine secret treasures. Normally, the essence crystal was generated in the deep place of the essence crystal mineral lode, as it was the best quintessence. Top-grade essence crystals were everywhere on the bottom of the lake. Shuryen made a sketchy count, and he found that there were no less than 10,000 pieces, 10,000 essence crystals. Even if the Yang family, which was a super strong force in the endless sea, sold all their cultivating materials, it wasn't worth the number of the essence crystals in this area. That's why Shuryen didn't think much. He wanted to collect them immediately. Boom, boom, boom. Fierce energy impact came from not far from them. Even the water of the lake couldn't hide these terrifying noises. Shuryen discolored. He woke up from the joy of the top-grade essence crystals, remembering the reason why he came down here. At this moment, Fiery Dragon, Fiery Flame, Silver-Horned, Yang Tian Emperor, and Di Shan arrived. They stood next to Shuryen, looking at the essence crystals around the place, taking a deep breath. The earth flame turned into a small flame, sinking into the blood vein ring. So many top-grade essence crystals. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yang Tian Emperor couldn't restrain his joy. He laughed. It's fate. It's our fate. Someone got here before us, Fiery Dragon grunted a reminder. Boom, boom, boom. Furious explosions echoed again. Yang Tian Emperor and Fiery Dragon became frightened, turning around to look at the direction where the explosion arose. Shuryen didn't dare to linger. He darted away like a lightning strike. The lake surged. Pieces of top-grade essence crystals were smashed into chips, releasing thick energy. Rays of light interweaved in front of them. They could see two silhouettes fighting furiously. One of them was obviously not human. His body was covered in a bloody mane. Each of his hair was like a steel needle, around 1 meter long. From a distance, he looked like a giant hedgehog. His breath was incomparably savage. Fighting him was a human, a slender man. His black hair were pinned up. He looked no more than 40 years old, handsome and generous. He was holding a gold square stone in his hand, which gave people the imposing manner of a great mountain. Although these two experts were fighting in the water didn't affect them. Each strike they launched could smash the entire mountain, generating an earth-shaking impact. While they were fighting, light shot out bursting off the top-grade essence crystals. This energy was more dangerous than the most savage fish in the water. It extended vastly to the furthest area of the lake. 3 rays of dark blue light shot out like the 3 sharpest arrows. The explosive force they were carrying was enough to crush the beast's flesh body. It's blood-maned. Fiery Dragon became ruthless. He grunted with a malicious look. This bastard has come here 1 step ahead of us. I wonder who he's fighting with. Chu Baiqing, Yang Tian Emperor knitted his eyebrows, looking at Shuryen. That man is Chu Baiqing, the headmaster of the Chu family of the Heaven Temple. He has the first sky of True God Realm cultivation base, a dangerous warrior. When we arrived in the Perpetual Night Forest, this man wanted to kill the entire Dark Devil clan, the Winged clan, and he wanted to take that chance to kill the Yang family, too. When Yang Tian Emperor was talking, he looked calm. However, the wicked thought in his eyes was hard to be concealed. Di Shan didn't talk, but his eyes showed his resentment as vast as a sea. Shuryen's face became gloomy. He nodded. I understand. We have some revenge we need to take. Thank you. Dishan bent his body, his face grateful. Chu Baiqing had the first sky of True God Realm cultivation vase, which was considered the leading competence in the whole 7 ancient factions. Shi Yan had only the second sky of Spirit Realm cultivation vase, and he had no expert strong enough to resist Chu Baiqing accompanying him. Although he knew the other's competence, he didn't hesitate to express that he would take justice for the winged race. His deed made Dishan understand that he didn't choose the wrong master. Yeah? Shi Yan was stirred up, looking at a big stone in the lake bottom ahead of them. 4 figures appeared behind that big stone. Shi Yan knew 3 of them. They were Li Zhenrong, Yi Changfeng, Ning Duquan, along with a strange old woman whose wrinkles crawled like worms on her face. However, that old woman had the 3rd sky of Spirit Realm cultivation vase. When Yi Changfeng saw Shi Yan, he couldn't help but scream. Li Zhenrong gawked with a surprised complexion. He pulled Yi Changfeng, dashing towards Shi Yan. Ning Duquan was talking with the old woman, so he didn't pay attention. When he found that Li Zhenrong and Yi Changfeng had moved abruptly, he looked up to see. His face changed immediately to be more gloomy and grim. A walnut-sized water drop was levitating above the place where Bloodmaned and Chu Baiqing were fighting. That drop didn't merge with the water of the lake, but maintained its complete shape, sparkling in a miraculous white halo. It looked magnificent like a star in the sea water. The fluid inside the drop was scarce, but it was murmuring, releasing a magical soul fluctuation. It seemed this drop had its own life. The brutal fight between Bloodmaned and Chu Baiqing seemed to because of this magical water drop. While they were battling with each other, they sometimes observed the drop discreetly, as if they were afraid it would disappear into thin air all of a sudden. Shi Yan! Shi Yan! Yi Changfeng called him while dashing towards this area. Li Zhenrong turned his head from time to check the situation of Ning Duquan and that old woman. He seemed to be afraid that these 2 would attack them. Watch out! We are encountering enemies. Shi Yan let out a light shout, talking to Fiery Dragon, Fiery Flame, and Silver Horned. Those humans over there have some grudges against me. I'm not sure what's going to happen. Even if we don't take action, the others won't let us go easily. Fiery Dragon glared at Ning Duquan and the old woman. He didn't bother with them. Just 2 Spirit Realm warriors. No need to worry. If they dare to come, I'll help you solve them. Shi Yan smiled, shaking his head. No need. We have enough power to counter them. However, if that True God Realm expert attacks us, I hope you will help us to resist him. That guy. Fiery Dragon shook his head, laughing evilly. No need for me to take action. Bloodmaned will teach him well. He has killed so many of his henchmen. Bloodmaned won't let him go that easy. Shi Yan nodded and calmed down his tense nerves. Li Zhenrong and Yi Changfeng rushed to Shi Yan. What's going on? Shi Yan asked without waiting for them to speak up. Why are you here? What have you found? What is in this area? He asked without keeping his manners. After throwing Li Zhenrong and Yi Changfeng a glance, his eyes gazed at Chu Baiqing. He advised, release your soul defense. We should be careful in case that man attacks us. After he had finished, both Tian Emperor and Li Zhenrong changed their complexions, starting to prepare the defense immediately. Fiery Dragon, Dishan, Fiery Flame, and Silver Horned didn't move. No matter it was the Demon Clan or the Monster Clan, their soul defense was naturally much outstanding than the Human Clan. Perhaps Shi Yan and Tian Emperor couldn't bear the soul attack of the True God Realm warriors, but it couldn't kill Fiery Dragon or Dishan instantly. Chu Baiqing invited us to accompany him. Li Zhenrong frowned after he had fished the soul defense. Changfeng has the Purgatory True Flame. They needed the Heaven Flame to break the seal here. That's why we're here. Why did they come here? Inquired Shi Yan. We didn't know, Li Zhenrong grimaced. But now we know. It's because of the soul-washing divine water. Soul-washing divine water? What is that? Shi Yan was stunned. He pointed at the water drop and asked, that water drop? Yes. Soul-washing divine water is similar to the life original fluid, which is one of the 3 kinds of divine water. It could wash a contaminated soul to make it crystal clear. This would help accelerate the understanding process of power Upanishads. And it would prevent the warrior from falling in bedevilment. Li Zhengrong explained and then shouted. Not only he has the soul-washing divine water, but also the star original essence. His bright eyes gazed at Shi Yan as he suddenly asked, I heard that you have the star martial spirit. Shi Yan nodded in surprise. Yeah? The star original essence is the best essence part of a star in the sky. If you can absorb the star original essence into your star martial spirit, I think your martial spirit will have a breakthrough. Li Zhengrong said affirmatively. Tian Emperor and Di Shan were petrified. They were both surprised and happy at the same time. How can we take it? Kill Chu Baiqing first. Yi Changfeng suddenly intervened, his face malicious. He wanted to kill my teacher and me. If that beast hadn't come, we would have been killed. Chapter 627. If we want to do it, leave no room for maneuver. Chapter 627. If we want to do it, leave no room for maneuver. For people who wouldn't bother keeping rules and codes of ethics, destroying the bridge after crossing the river wasn't a mental barrier. It was just normal. Especially when the benefit was big enough, everything would become more reasonable. Soul-washing divine water and the star original essence were the rarest treasures in this world. Even the true God Realm warriors might not have a chance to see them, not to mention having them. When such a chance presented in front of them, Chu Baiqing and Ning Duquan, the warriors of the Heaven Temple, wouldn't have much hesitation before killing their pathfinders. Poor Li Zhengrong and Yi Changfeng. As the key to open the seal, the other two hadn't killed them yet, because they needed to deal with the blood-maned giant ape first. Shi Yan now understood why Li Zhengrong had to be cautious watching Ning Duquan and the old woman behind his back while he was dashing toward him. Turned out he was afraid that Ning Duquan and the old woman would take risks and kill them first. Kill Chu Baiqing first. Yi Changfeng gritted his teeth. Resentment was as deep as the ocean showing on his face. Shi Yan could understand his feeling. However, he didn't answer immediately, just keeping silent. Shi Yan, will you help me or not? As Yi Changfeng saw him not replying, his face grimaced, his eyes bright and sharp. Li Zhengrong didn't talk much while his face darkened. He had told Shi Yan the magical functions of the soul-washing divine water and the star original essence to trigger him to help him solve this problem. When they were still in the Dead Soul Mountain range, Li Zhengrong had treated Shi Yan not too badly. The old man thought that he had to get along well with Shi Yan. Added with the relationship between Shi Yan and Yi Changfeng, Li Zhengrong thought that Shi Yan would give them a hand. Even if not because of him, with the attractive weight of the star original essence, Shi Yan would never resist. However, Shi Yan kept silent, which made him feel anxious as he couldn't guess what Shi Yan was thinking. At the bottom of the lake, Ning Duquan and the old woman had their eyes glistered uncertainly. They seemed to be preparing themselves discreetly. I have a deep resentment with Ning Duquan. Shi Yan's complexion was faint as he was talking neither slow nor fast. Of course, I'm going to help you. I just need to think about which method to use to kill all of them. Once we take action, we will leave no room for anyone to escape. Or else, the aftermath wouldn't be something we can imagine. Chu Baiqing and Ning Duquan were the disciples of the Heaven Temple. Although he didn't know the old woman's identity, he assumed she was from the Heaven Temple too. If all the three of them were killed, it was easy to arrange. However, if one of them escaped, it would be hard to tell whether the Heaven Temple would get out of the secret domain and hunt them or not. They needed to consider this problem carefully. Shi Yan wasn't alone anymore. The Yang family, the Shi family, the Chao family, and the Yin Yang Fairyland were dependent on him, so were the Dark Devil clan and the Winged clan. He couldn't just ignore everything and run away alone. Giving the Heaven Temple a reason to let many warriors get out of the secret domain and attack his side, Shi Yan had to ask himself whether he could resist such a force or not. If he stayed with the Dark Devil clan and the Winged clan and killed Chu Baiqing's group, Yunhao of the Radiant God cult would have had no way to help him out. With their current force, they couldn't resist the Heaven Temple face to face. Shi Yan's right. Li Zhengrong sighed quietly, his face solemn. If we want to kill them, we can't make any mistake. If we want to do it, leave no room for maneuver. Does anybody else know that you guys are coming here? Shi Yan was a bit hesitant, asking immediately. No, Li Zhengrong shook his head. Chu Baiqing wanted to keep this place for himself. Of course, he wouldn't tell anybody else. I'm sure no one else knows about this. Good. Shi Yan finally showed his bloody fangs. He talked to Fiery Dragon resolutely. You have to help me with this. At first, you just need to get rid of the competition with the blood-maned giant ape. You should join us and help us kill them. After we can kill all of them, we will discuss the other business, okay? If you bear any loss, I'll compensate. No problem. Fiery Dragon grinned, rubbing his hands. Although blood-maned and I don't get along well, those bastards killed my fellows. They had taken the bones and skinned them. Of course, I won't just stand and stare. The monster clan has rules. Even if we hate each other, facing this operation, we will unite as one. Then it's easy. Shi Yan smiled, as cold as a sharp blade. A streak of blood rose in his eyes. We will solve Ning Duquan and that old woman first. Fiery Dragon, you are in charge of that true God realm human expert. Don't let him escape shortly. Chu Baiqing has the true God realm cultivation base, so he should have his God soul now. I think when he sees the situation getting worse, he will use the God soul to run away. Li Zhengrong was cheered up, but then he remembered this feature. He'd better not to let his God soul leave the body. Or else. I'll show him how stupid he is to let his God soul escape in front of me. Shi Yan grinned evilly and fiendishly. Li Zhengrong's eyes brightened. He asked happily, you have it? Yes, Shi Yan nodded. Don't worry, everybody. If he let his God soul out, it's gonna be the decision he will regret the most for the rest of his sorry life. Yi Changfeng was cheered up, smiling coldly. Yang Tian Emperor and Di Shan were eager to try. They started to accumulate their power quietly, preparing to attack at any minute. Previously, Chu Baiqing's group always wanted to kill the Yang family, the Dark Devil clan, and the Winged clan. Members of the Heaven Temple took a big part in the 7 ancient factions hotshots who had sneaked out of the secret domain to slaughter the Dark Devil clan and the Winged clan. Fiery Dragon, you attack them first. As long as Chu Baiqing is restrained, we will attack the others. After we kill the other 2, we will support you immediately. You must hold Chu Baiqing down. Okay. Fiery Dragon didn't change his face, giving an order to Fiery Flame and Silver Horned. When I launch my attack, you guys shouldn't stay idle. Help them to kill these 2 humans. Fiery Flame and Silver Horned nodded heavily. They've killed our fellows savagely. We will take their blood to repay our fellows' blood. You can pretend to attack Bloodmaned first. Then, you seize the chance and attack Chu Baiqing. If you can deceive Bloodmaned, too, it's the best. Shi Yan suddenly suggested a cunning tactic. Fiery Dragon was surprised. He glared at Shi Yan oddly. You humans are so cunning indeed. Then, he roared, turning into a scorching shadow and lunging towards Bloodmaned and Chu Baiqing. Although Bloodmaned and Chu Baiqing were fighting with each other, they quietly retreated a part of their power to take precaution. They were waiting for the flaming dragon. Bloodmaned and Chu Baiqing had recognized Fiery Dragon before. While they were battling, they had observed Fiery Dragon discreetly. But they didn't expect Fiery Dragon to jump into their battle. These 2 were both frightened. Bloodmaned and Fiery Dragon were rivals, so he was afraid that Fiery Dragon would attack him. Chu Baiqing was more anxious. Fiery Dragon was a member of the monster clan, so of course, he would support his monster fellow. As Fiery Dragon hadn't made any moves, he had relaxed a little bit. However, he still kept an eye on the situation. Bloodman's and Chu Baiqing's powers were almost the same. No matter what side Fiery Dragon chose to join, the other side would fall into a bad situation, which would overturn the entire balance. They were all afraid of his involvement, so they had to save part of their power just in case. Roar! Bloodmaned released a terrifying roar. Gold light shot out from his eyes as he thundered indignantly. Fiery Dragon, you bastard! You dare attack me! Although we're rivals, if you join humans, the entire monster clan will disdain you. After Fiery Dragon had let out a dragon roar, A bunch of red energy shot out from the soul horn on his head, locking Bloodmaned. That's why the ape got enraged and scolded him. Chu Baiqing was tense. Hearing Bloodmaned cursing, he was overjoyed. He laughed and then released the pressure from the square stone, striking on Bloodmaned. While he and Bloodmaned were engaging in the battle, he was always in a disadvantaged situation. He wasn't so sure about this fight. However, as he discovered the fiery dragon was the archenemy of the Bloodmaned giant ape, he had an extreme joy that couldn't be explained. God helps me. The soul-washing divine water, the star original essence, and the materials from the body of the 2 level 9 beasts. My breakthrough to the second sky of true God realm finally has a hope. Chu Baiqing was excited. As he was envisioning the best picture, he felt even his pores were refreshed. He shouted and attempted to join Fiery Dragon to kill Bloodmaned. Fiery Dragon shouted indignantly. The soul horn on his head rippled magical energy waves. While he was in his beast form, each scale on his body was rattling like leaves on an ancient tree. Waves of raging, blazing energy bloomed out from the dragon's body. Bloodmaned screeched and thundered. He panted and avoided Chu Baiqing temporarily, shifting his target to Fiery Dragon. He had recognized the Fiery Dragon today wasn't like the dragon in the past. The energy rippling from his body was robust and intimidating. The dragon's body that Shuryen had refined was pushing Bloodmaned, as if he were facing a tremendous enemy. He had to counter the giant dragon with full caution. Although the monster clan had a scale of levels, the beast's competence didn't depend on the level. However, the way the monster clan fought wasn't similar to human. They didn't rely solely on their energy, rather the robust body. During the fighting, the beast's grand body could compensate its shortage of energy. Apparently, Bloodmaned had discovered the strange features of Fiery Dragon. He recognized that Fiery Dragon, the dragon that used to be 1 level lower than him, was now not weaker than him, even a bit. Moreover, Fiery Dragon was a member of the monster clan, but he had broken the rules and joined the human side to attack him. This burned the raging fire in his heart, soaring to the sky. So, at first, he needed to press down Fiery Dragon's imposing pressure. When Fiery Dragon was passing Chu Baiqing, his long tail, covered in thick scales, suddenly swept through, releasing many scarlet flames as though hundreds of blacksmiths were pounding their iron hammers on the stone table. His long tail directly hit the invisible defensive cage of Chu Baiqing. Boom! Chu Baiqing was so surprised he couldn't react on time. The power of his body had been accumulated on the square stone, so the power that remained in the cage was limited. Instantly, his invisible cage broke into countless light dots, scattering everywhere. Chu Baiqing was blown 1,000 meters away underwater. Blood covered his body. He had never thought that Fiery Dragon would use this method to strike him. In people's thoughts, although the beasts had intellect, they weren't so cunning and wicked. Thus, the big price he had to pay for his wrong calculation was his badly wounded body. Chapter 628, Kill Him. Chapter 628, Kill Him. In fact, Fiery Dragon didn't have such a concept. Without Shuryen's wicked tactic, Fiery Dragon could never think about such a treatment for Chu Baiqing. Chu Baiqing wasn't wrong when he acted according to the common knowledge of the monster clan. Anyway, he hadn't counted Shuryen, the one who planned everything behind Fiery Dragon. That was why he got hurt in just a blink. Bloodmaned also fell into a daze. When Bloodmaned was roaring and screeching as he was about to attack the dragon, he suddenly found Fiery Dragon's target had been changed. Chu Baiqing wanted to cooperate with Fiery Dragon to kill him, but he got hurt while he didn't put up guard towards his partner. This also stunned Bloodmaned. F***ck that. Your daddy here and you come from the same clan. How could I join the foreigner and deal with you? That **shoal has killed so many members of our clan. Well, drawing bones and taking tendons. I have to kill him first. We will talk about our matter later. Fiery Dragon thundered and then crazily stormed towards Chu Baiqing again. Bloodmaned was astounded, but then he shouted, "You King Fiery Dragon. I didn't think that you were so mean and shameless. But I like it. The giant ape roared, and then just like Fiery Dragon, his furious attacks changed their directions, dashing towards Chu Baiqing. His body was radiant in a gold halo, while a power as sharp as a sword tip surged. When Fiery Dragon and Bloodmane joined hands, it was the announcement of Chu Baiqing's defeat, especially when he had been hurt severely. Ning Duquan and the old woman stood behind a big stone watching the fight. They had planned everything, but the wind had changed now. They were all startled in fright. Ning Duquan and the old woman discolored as they figured out that they were now the targets. They wanted to run away with grimaced countenances. Kill them first. Shi Yan released the war devil, giving it a cold order. He pointed at Ning Duquan and the old woman. Be careful. Don't let them run away using escape technique. The war devil flew out. Tian Emperor, Di Shan, Li Zhongrong, Fiery Flame, and Silvered Horn flew after the puppet. They shot away like lightning strikes. In just a blink, they had reached Ning Duquan and the old woman, starting to strike them with deadly attacks. Yi Changfeng didn't move, watching the scene with a happy face. Shi Yan didn't move either. He narrowed his eyes, moving his soul consciousness quietly. He was urging different kinds of powers to create gravitational field at the bottom of the lake. Then, he used his soul to manipulate it, striking towards Ning Duquan and the old woman. Flows of soul consciousness added with space power flew and interweaved rapidly inside the gravitational field, affecting space there and creating a distorted, chaotic space. This was the breaking escape technique he had studied for a long time to create. Most of the escape techniques, which could jump 10,000 li away instantly, needed to cross space to do that. If space had an anomaly and became unsteady, when someone used this technique to run away, he or she would receive the space power backlash, which would kill that person tragically. Flows of soul consciousness moved fast in that gravitational field, making the area shake disorderly. Vaguely, they could see some tiny spacelets. Ning Duquan and the old woman were sensitive enough to realize the change of space around them. Eventually, they grimaced with a great insecure feeling. Ning Duquan, Li Zhongrong roared indignantly. Didn't you want to kill us? You're a shameless B*****. I will show you what's called despair. It was Ning Duquan's idea to trigger Chu Baiqing to kill them. While Chu Baiqing was fighting with Bloodmane, Ning Duquan was watching Li Zhongrong to prevent him from running away. That was why Li Zhongrong hated him to the bones. Hey, Ning old dog, long time no see. Shi Yan laughed oddly from a distance. I couldn't destroy you in the Ice Emperor city, so I'm going to kill you today then. If you dare, use the escape technique. Haha, I really want to see the chaotic space crush you into dust. How magnificent it would be. Ha ha ha. Cool. Yi Changfeng shouted, laughing refreshingly as he finally vented out his resentment. Little dog, you would never have a decent death. The 7 ancient factions will kill you. I swear on my soul. Ning Duquan screeched as if his insanity had burst out. He turned to the old woman. Move. We will break out with all that we got. Whistle whistle. A block of absolute darkness slowly appeared at the bottom of the lake. A formidable suction force came from that darkness as if it could swallow everything. But the strange thing was, the water in the lake didn't flow towards that area. However, Ning Duquan and the old woman were panic-stricken. They felt their souls were entangled with black smoke, feeling restless. That was the power Upanishad of the war devil, corrosive darkness. Tian Emperor and Di Shan seized the chance to storm towards them like strong beasts, with a crazy, brutal momentum. Explode, shouted Tian Emperor. His palms cracked open. Blood-red energy gushed out furiously, carrying the power of the blood ghost that Tian Emperor had perceived. This blow could explode the opponent's flesh body into pieces. Di Shan's black wings shivered slightly. Many feathers condensed by pure energy shot out like a shower of arrows, which puzzled people's vision. This attack seemed to freeze even the water current in the lake. Fiery Flame and Silvered Horn stood on the right and left respectively in their beast form to block the exit of the 2 desperados. If Ning Duquan's group wanted to flee away from 2 sides, they would never avoid the crazy bombarding of Fiery Flame and Silvered Horn. The bursting power of a level 8 beast was enough to rip off Ning Duquan and the old woman on the spot. Li Zhengrong halted. After that, he threw out the rings on his fingers one by one. They flashed, then many treasures flew out, striking towards Ning Duquan's team. Li Zhengrong was a sacred grade alchemist. He had lived in the Dead Soul Mountain range for many years, which gave him the chance to collect countless rare and precious treasures, each of them being a sacred grade treasure. The fighting tactic that depended on secret treasures was the most dangerous. Light shot out from treasures, flooding the entire area. However, their energy fluctuations were different. The treasures locked the two, while some of them even intruded their souls directly, giving them a deep insecure feeling rising from the bottom of their hearts. War Devil, Di Shan, Young Tian Emperor, Li Zhengrong, Fiery Flame, and Silvered Horned were equal to the force of 5 experts at the same level as them. Among them, Yang Tian Emperor and Di Shan alone were enough to defeat the two. And the flooding treasures tactic of Li Zhengrong was giving people a big headache, along with the giant body of Fiery Flame and Silvered Horned blocking the way. This battle was determined right before it started. If Shi Yan didn't use his space power to disorder space, the other two would have used the escape technique to run away and vent a chance to survive. However, Shi Yan had cut off their only hope. Puff puff. The fearful noise of cutting flesh and bones arose from Ning Duquan and the old woman's position. Next, they saw cut limbs flying across the area. Blood splashed everywhere. The thick smell of blood couldn't be hidden in water as it diffused with the water. They couldn't even release their souls. Shi Yan had prepared the soul-gathering pearl already, waiting in silence. However, he saw their souls being crushed instantly, turning into light smoke that naked eyes couldn't see, vanishing in the water of the lake. Swoosh! The soul-gather pearl still flew out, using its best to gather the smoke of their souls, which had been divided into so many different flows, before they vanished. Ning Duquan and the old woman had both their souls and bodies perished. Everybody was cheered up. They couldn't hold their strange smiles, storming towards Chu Baiqing. Chu Baiqing was struggling hard dispiritedly. He couldn't do anything but retreat. Blood gushed from his body, and his face was as pallid as paper sheets. "Don't let him run away," Shi Yan shouted. He started to gather his soul consciousness power, making the soul sabers strengthened with space power. Those sabers then stabbed towards Chu Baiqing, making the space disordered again. At the same time, the gravitational field, which prevented Ning Duquan from using escape technique, swiftly changed its position, moving towards Chu Baiqing. Yang Tian Emperor, Di Shan, Li Zhengrong, Fiery Flame, and Silvered Horned released their best strikes to restrain Chu Baiqing as they heard Shi Yan. The War Devil didn't care whether Chu Baiqing would use a trick to kill both of them. The puppet got to the area and urged his power of darkness one more time. Blood-maned and Fiery Dragon stood next to him. These two formidable existences of the monster clan had a body that was even stronger than iron. As they weren't afraid of Chu Baiqing's bursting, they still bombarded the poor man, using their giant bodies to seize more room and narrow his operating space. Shi Yan didn't join the battle. He was using his soul consciousness to distort the space, applying his new cognition of the space energy. Flows of his soul consciousness were moving like invisible blades, cutting the space in the lake. They then saw the streams appear in the bottom of the lake. They were the traces of where his soul consciousness had glided through. Not long afterward, there were hundreds of streams like that next to Chu Baiqing. These streams didn't have any operational rules. They were changing and joining each other constantly, creating the impact that could affect the space here. Shi Yan was filled with joy as he realized that his control of space power was getting more exquisite. The chance when one didn't need to worry about the counterattack of a true God realm expert and could use the strongest attack to kill the opponent came once in a blue moon. Shi Yan seized the chance and quenched his space power, turning his knowledge into a real attack. During the fighting, he understood the movement of space and the traces of space power, which helped him take another step in understanding the mysteries of space power. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Different energies, treasures, lights, and flames exploded, shelling towards Chu Baiqing. Chu Baiqing had to dodge with all of his abilities. However, he got hurt continually, and he couldn't resist any longer. His face distorted evilly. Begrudgingly, his god's soul got out of his body. A feeble phantom slowly flew out from his body. Then, it moved swiftly like lightning in order to escape the lake bottom. "I've been waiting for you for so long." Shi grinned fiendishly. A powerful suction force appeared from the soul-gathering pearl, which aimed at the souls especially. At that moment, Chu Baiqing's god soul was like it was coiled by many tentacles. He struggled hard, releasing the screeches of the soul. But he was dragged towards the soul-gathering pearl little by little. He had no means to avoid this force. Tian Emperor and Li Zhongrong were the experts with secret treasures and soul attacks. They took this chance to create more pressure on Chu Baiqing's soul, making it flicker like a dying flame. Swoosh! Finally, Chu Baiqing's god soul couldn't resist anymore. The soul-gathering pearl got it immediately. Shi laughed crazily, snatching the pearl. The soul-gathering pearl returned to his hand. Chu Baiqing's god soul had turned into gray smoke, dispersing gradually. Chapter 629, Everyone Takes a Step Back. Chapter 629, Everyone Takes a Step Back. Underscore. The soul-gathering pearl was the crystal of a soul-swallowing beast, the most eccentric beast in this world. The soul-swallowing beast was good at seizing souls. Of course, its crystal had inherited this ability perfectly. All souls had weaknesses that people could use to take them. Once the soul left the body, it became feeble. The god soul was agile. It could flash and disappear instantly. If it weren't restrained right when it left the body, it was hard to capture and destroy it. The soul-gathering pearl's best feature was that it could release an intense suction force whenever it sensed the aura of the soul. It could act quickly, leaving the souls no chance to escape. This toy was made to aim at souls. When souls didn't detach from the bodies, this toy's effect wasn't significant. It was easy to destroy the speed too. However, when a soul didn't have a body to host it, it would become this bead's prey. Chu Baiqing's god soul was now a cluster of gray air, seized inside the soul-gathering pearl. The wise god soul had turned into something gray and dull. The soul's memories were gradually scattered. To purify a warrior's soul to the degree that the other warrior could absorb it, the soul seal, the memories, every feeling, and events of life should be cleaned. After that, the soul would be crystal clear and be able to be absorbed. However, a soul that could survive and exist wasn't only because of the soul energy, but also the knowledge, memory, and the traces of life. When these things were washed away, one's life original seal would disappear, which meant both his body and soul had perished. In other words, Chu Baiqing was over, and he could never gather his soul seal again. Holding the soul-gathering pearl in his hand, Shi was contented. He gazed at the pure black pearl for a while, releasing his soul consciousness to sense. Afterward, he retrieved his soul consciousness with a smile. Chu Baiqing was an expert at the true god realm anyway. His soul was the formidable god soul. The soul-gathering pearl needed time to crush and filter his god soul thoroughly. Shi understood this well. Ningdu Quan, Chu Baiqing, and the old woman were killed directly with quick and wicked attacks. Afterward, the lake restored its quiet ambience. Tian Emperor, Di Shan, War Devil, and Li Zhongrong returned, standing next to him. All of them were excited with a smiling face. "I didn't expect it to be so easy." "Shi, what did you use to capture even the god soul?" Li Zhongrong relaxed as warm smiles filled his fat face. "You, kiddo, you aren't ordinary at all. Every time I meet you, I find out that I can't see through you." The beast crystal of the soul-swallowing beast, specialized in dealing with souls, Shi beamed a faint smile. "Soul-gathering pearl." Li Zhongrong was frightened. He discolored. "The soul-swallowing beast is the most cunning and wicked beast in the world. You have its crystal. Wow, it's what everybody desires." He knew the secrets of the soul-swallowing beast. This beast grew up by devouring souls of creatures. It was really dangerous. I thought you would use the 9 Serenity's soul-devouring flame. Yi Changfeng grinned brightly. You do have many tricks. It's cool, mate. Yi Changfeng had the purgatory true flame. The heaven flames could sense each other. He had a sharp knowledge of Shuryan's heaven flames and the features of the 9 Serenity's soul-devouring flame. When Shuryan told everybody he had the method to deal with Chu Baiqing's god soul, he wasn't so surprised. Shuryan just smiled, but he didn't explain. After the battle with the world-extinguishing thunder flame, the 9 Serenity's soul-devouring flame went dormant. Seemed like it was carrying out its living form transformation. As Shuryan had used his host's soul to sense, he realized it wasn't a simple process. Even if he could use the 9 Serenity's soul-devouring flame, he wouldn't use it. After the soul-gathering pearl purified Chu Baiqing's god soul, it would become a pure soul that he could absorb. Such good benefit shouldn't be wasted by burning it to ashes, right? When he was talking with Li Zhengrong and Yi Changfeng, Fiery Dragon and Bloodmaned were breathing heavily and talking with each other not far from him. After the two had joined hands and killed Chu Baiqing, they took a short break and then started to provoke each other. Fiery Dragon and Bloodmaned had a grudge because Bloodmaned used to bully the dragon when his level was still low. Bloodmaned wanted to make Fiery Dragon his henchman, but Fiery Dragon had denied him. Bloodmaned thought that this dragon didn't appreciate his favor, so he had given Fiery Dragon a lesson while he was still young. This was carved deep in the Fiery Dragon's memory. He always treated Bloodmaned as his enemy. He always wanted to be stronger, to then find Bloodmaned to take his pride back. Fiery Dragon and Bloodmaned had accelerated from provoking to a bigger rage. Their face reddened, their breathing severe and ominous. They seemed to want to fight. Fiery Dragon was afraid of Bloodmaned, but it was the old story. Since Shuryan had refined his body, Fiery Dragon could feel his power had skyrocketed. Now, he wasn't afraid of Bloodmane's cultivation base, which was 1 level higher than his. As they were quarreling, he wanted to vent his anger out eventually. Shuryan looked at the further area as his mind was flickering. He laughed, then flew toward the 2 beasts while shouting, "You guys." Bloodmaned and Fiery Dragon were about to attack each other. But on hearing his call, they stopped and looked at him bewilderedly. "Shuryan, I don't need your support in the fight between Bloodmaned and me. Our battle won't require external help." Fiery Dragon was astounded as he thought that Shuryan wanted to help him. He shook his head continually and denied resolutely. "I believe Bloodmaned can't hurt me this time." Bloodmaned had gold mane covering his entire body. Each hair of his was like a gold, pointy needle. In this lake bottom, he looked like a small gold mountain with a sharp aura. His eyes filled with fighting will gazed at Shuryan. He didn't take action immediately but muttered to himself. "This kid is the one who gave the cunning tactic to Fiery Dragon. Such shameless rouge. You humans are all the same. Without Shuryan's plan, could we kill that true god realm human that fast? You be **starred. Don't act like you gain nothing from this. Ungrateful." Fiery Dragon was equally foul-mouthed. "You too. Don't rush." Shuryan beamed a faint smile and then nodded with Bloodmaned. "Haven't you found the new change of Fiery Dragon? Do you know how it happened?" Fiery Dragon couldn't help but shout. "Shuryan, there are so many magical things in this lake bottom. If you two fight now, both of you will lose something." Shuryan gave a deep look to Fiery Dragon. "Moreover, this is Bloodmane's territory. We can't do things behind his back. Your grudge isn't something you have to risk your lives for. I know you Monster Clan isn't a narrow-minded race. Everyone take a step back and we all gain benefits from this. Won't we be all happy in the end?" Fiery Dragon kept silent, as though he was considering Shuryan's words. His body, even after Shuryan had quenched it already, had only the same strength as Bloodmane's. Killing him was impossible. Otherwise, he wouldn't need to be too cautious along the way here, as he had been trying to avoid Bloodmaned. Today, Bloodmaned was also present underwater, and he couldn't avoid him. If things accelerated, he and Bloodmaned had to experience another bloody fight. Shuryan's competence wasn't bad, which had been proven when they killed Chu Baiqing's group. Even if Shuryan didn't get involved in their battle, he would still feel insecure. Thus, if he wanted to initiate this fight, nothing would be good for him. Bloodmaned was quite excited. He seemed to be curious. Do you know how that fiery dragon's body changed? He really concerned this matter. I did that. After my quenching, his flesh body has been improved by 1 level. Shiryen grinned, looking at Fiery Dragon. You don't deny that, do you? Fiery Dragon snorted. Under Bloodmane's scrutinizing look, he nodded begrudgingly. This stinky kid has some good tricks. Without his assistance, I couldn't shed the mortal skin that fast. Bloodmane's eyes brightened, gazing at Shiryen. You told me this. Are you saying that you can help me too? Shiryen nodded resolutely. It's true. As long as you pay me enough and gather materials sufficiently, I can help you refine your flesh body, which would facilitate you to complete the process of shedding mortal skin. How does it sound? Bloodmaned almost didn't hesitate. He agreed immediately. I'll follow your idea. Good, Shiryen was happy. First, we need to solve the business in this lake bottom, then we will discuss our long-term business carefully. I'm easy to talk with. Master Bloodmaned will understand me gradually. Bloodmane nodded, walked to Fiery Dragon and started to ask him the details. Fiery Dragon, you *Shoal, why did you want to hide such good things? This is good news to our monster clan. Be *starred. You're so selfish. That human has spoiled you. Fiery Dragon's face grimaced. He grunted and mumbled in his throat, but he didn't react. When he was annoyed, he would answer in 1 or 2 sentences. How to take the soul-washing divine water and the star original essence. Shiryen waved at Li Zhongrong's group and asked directly. You need to use heaven flame to melt the hard shell. Li Zhongrong talked with a serious face. Both the soul-washing divine water and the star original essence have a magical hard shell. It's more tenacious than the supple power of the surface water of this lake. Only heaven flames can melt it bit by bit. That's how we unseal them. I don't see the star original essence anywhere, Shiryen was puzzled. Over there, Yi Changfeng laughed, pointing at an area under the soul-washing divine water. There's an ancient formation. The soul-washing divine water and the star original essence came out from its center. We've dragged the soul-washing divine water, but we haven't touched the star essence yet. Ancient formation? Shiryen's eyes brightened. He didn't wait for Yi Changfeng to talk more, walking towards the place he had just pointed. Tian Emperor and Di Shan followed him closely. They were curious, but their yearning was getting bigger. The soul-washing divine water was something they both desired for its magical effects. Shiryen walked to the place, looking up to see. As he got there, he was struck immediately and couldn't help but shout. Chapter 630. The Creator's Divine Pond. Chapter 630. The Creator's Divine Pond. A complicated ancient formation that was reaching its acme rested at the bottom of the lake. Top-grade essence crystals surrounded that formation, radiating dazzlingly. Waves of energy rippled endlessly. This ancient formation was as big as a basketball court. It was as clear and complex as the lines on a human palm. A crystal spiritual station stood in the center of the formation. Apparently, it imitated a human soul. It was ethereal and not qualitative, ever-changing. Essence crystal pillars that were as big as small mountains stood upright. An immense halo expanded from their tips, which could shake people's souls. Magical light dots were moving on that ancient formation, as though they were the small streams which would never cease to flow. Flows of supernatural fluctuation rippled from the formation and dazzled people. This somehow helped them comprehend the mysteries of heaven and earth. There was a stone standing next to the spiritual station, which was covered with stars. It was more dazzling and magnificent than the most precious gem in the world. At first glance, Shiryen felt dizzy. His star martial spirit was stirred up. The Creator's Divine Pond. This is the Creator's Divine Pond. Shiryen couldn't press down the overjoyed laughter in his heart. His voice trembled as he was shivering in thrill. Everybody could see his excitement from his countenance. No one knew when they had gathered here automatically. Tian Emperor, Di Shan, Li Zhongrong, and Yi Changfeng had walked to him, looking at his trembling body. However, they didn't know why he suddenly got stirred up. Shiryen took a deep breath to steady his joy. He spoke up with fright. I didn't expect to see this thing. I thought it was just a legend. Turns out that the legend is real. What's going on? Li Zhengrong didn't get the situation. Although he was a sacred-level alchemist with profound knowledge, it was strange to him. Old Li, are you about to break through the true god realm? Shi Yan grinned and pretended to relax. What? Li Zhengrong was surprised. Does the Creator's divine pond relate to me? Why can't I see anything strange here? I can't see the relation, but I know its effects. I think you will get crazy with joy. Shi Yan laughed contentedly. It could help you break through the true god realm without any risks. Do you say the Creator's divine pond interesting? After he finished, not only Li Zhengrong, but also Tian Emperor and Di Shan shivered in thrill. They were disbelieving, their eyes as bright as lightning. Really? Is it really that magical? How could it be? How? Li Zhengrong's voice trembled. Obviously, he was so excited he didn't know what to do. He was passionate about refining medicines, but his innate ability in cultivating wasn't really good. Experts at the spirit realm like him had reached the true god realm one by one, but not him. Due to his passion for refining pellets, he couldn't break through earlier. Otherwise, after he had known about the life original fluid in the dark magnetic noxious mist, he wouldn't stay there all the time. All was because of the life original fluid. The life original fluid gave the spirit realm warriors the chance to leap up to the true god realm, but it couldn't guarantee the absolute safety. But today, Shi Yan had told him that the Creator's divine pond could help him reach the true god realm easily. How could he be idle? Master, is it that magical? Di Shan's voice trembled. He was also excited. Little Yan, what's going on? Tian Emperor was the first one waking up from the fright. If it's that miraculous, I think our prosperity has hope now. With Tian Emperor's natural endowment and power, once he reached the true god realm, he wasn't afraid of the peerless experts like Yunhao. Even the gap was wide, he could cross with only one step. At that time, he could see the whole new world, especially the true god realm. Only the true god realm experts could become gods. Warriors at such level could have the god soul, and their bodies were equipped with many magical functions. They could have a new understanding of the natural powers. The true god realm and the spirit realm were the two different worlds. When a warrior at his peak of cultivating path couldn't cross that gap, he would just be a fake god forever. Seems like you guys don't know about the Creator's divine pond. Shi Yan grinned, took a deep breath, and then explained. In the legends, there were tremendous existences among the experts in antiquity time. They would contribute their best to their families and sects to build the Creator's divine pond. This Creator's divine pond could help the peak of spirit realm warriors snatch the control of the Creator to enter the true god realm at ease. Everybody's eyes brightened to the acme. As they were listening to Shi Yan, they seemed to forget to breathe. It's really strenuous to build the Creator's divine pond. It requires numerous treasures of the world. The experts with supernatural powers have to make a gateway to connect heaven and earth. They need the soul-washing divine water and the life original fluid, and the supple power of the water in the deep pond to clean the warrior's soul gradually. Then, they need sufficient energy to maintain. Shi Yan listed the strict requirements while his face became more solemn. Even in the antiquity time, only the peerless forces could have the ability to build the Creator's divine pond. Tian Emperor and Li Zhengrong didn't say anything as they were absorbing his words. You guys are so lucky that I have no words to comment. Shi Yan pondered, taking a deep breath and then said affirmatively. This Creator's divine pond is still intact. It's never been damaged. You guys can take the soul-washing divine water not because the formation is damaged, but because it lacks some materials now, which stops the formation temporarily. Life original fluid is the missing material. Besides, it needs the pure soul energy, the blood soul divine water, and the 5 elements crystal marrow. That's why the Creator's divine pond's incomplete. Shi Yan looked at everybody and grinned. If we can gather those materials and pour in the formation, we can continue using this Creator's divine pond. You know how to build the Creator's divine pond? Everybody was curious, and Li Zhengrong couldn't hold it. Shi Yan shook his head. I have the attainment of a whole life of a divine-grade blacksmith. In his blacksmithing experience, he mentioned the creator's divine pond. However, a divine-grade alchemist like him didn't know how to build the creator's divine pond. Even if he knew how, he had no strong warriors to assist him. It's impossible to build one. What is the realm of the strong warriors, you said? Dishan couldn't help but ask. King God Realm. Shi Yan let out the words faintly. As if his words were thunders, Tian Emperor, Dishan, Li Zhengrong, and Yi Changfeng were petrified, their complexions aghast. I am not deceiving you guys, Shi Yan cracked a smile. As far as I know, besides so many treasures of heaven and earth, the blacksmith who knows how to build the formation, to build the creator's divine pond, it requires warriors at King God Realm to support. Moreover, not only one, it requires 3 at least. 3 King God Realm experts? Li Zhengrong was stunned, as if something had just exploded in his brain. His face struck. Tian Emperor and Dishan didn't reply. They were biting their lips, gazing their scorching eyes at the so-called creator's divine pond. Yeah, it requires 3 King God Realm experts to create the creator's divine pond that could snatch the control of nature. It needs so many treasures and years to carve the formation to build that pond. Shi Yan exhaled. He was dizzy, as if he were watching a marvelous scene of the antiquity time, where supernatural experts were joining hands. Many strong warriors were piling up rare materials that they couldn't see in the recent epoch. Under the loud instruction of a formation expert, they put the materials into the formation he had drawn. We, Li Zhengrong said, we, 3 times, but he didn't know how to continue. I have the life original fluid, the blood soul divine water. We will have the pure soul energy from the soul gathering pearl. The only thing we lack is the 5 elements crystal marrow. Shi Yan pondered and then said, as long as we have enough materials, we can activate this creator's divine pond. I don't know how to build it, but it won't be a problem to add the required materials to the finished formation. Li Zhengrong seemed to be struck hard. We only need the 5 elements crystal marrow, Shi Yan sighed. If we can find the 5 elements crystal marrow, we can activate the creator's divine pond. At that time, you and Dishan can break through directly to the true God realm. And you can condense the God soul. This is a true present from God. I have the 5-element crystal marrow. A voice that sounded like the voice of God came to them from a far distance. Right after that, Bloodmane lunged like a beam of gold light towards Shi Yan. He shouted, Shi Yan, if you help me to refine my body, I'll give you the 5 elements crystal marrow. Deal. Shi Yan shouted without any hesitation. Not only you, I will also help refine all of your level 8 subordinates once. For you and Fiery Dragon, I will help you refine at least a rank 6 sacred grade secret weapon. The price I want is, everything in this creator's divine pond shall belong to me, including the soul-washing divine water and the star original essence. To you and the monster clan, these things aren't valuable. What do you think? Bloodmane and Fiery Dragon exchanged looks as they were weighing pros and cons. We will collect materials. You have to refine the same weapons for our level 8 subordinates. We just need the sacred grade quality like what your human clan has. Bloodmane kept silent for a while, then started to bargain. Deal. Shi Yan agreed resolutely. However, you have to protect this area for me. Do not disclose any information about it. Absolutely. Fiery Dragon and Bloodmane had their eyes brightened. They agreed immediately. Li Zhengrong, Dishan, and Tian Emperor were a little bit upset, but when they heard Bloodmane shouting, I have 5 elements crystal marrow, they were overjoyed. Even their pores felt refreshed. They couldn't help but laugh idiotically. God helps us. Even God helps us. Shi Yan and Li Zhengrong's group were shouting crazily in their hearts, as they couldn't restrain their joy. Chapter 631, Fire and Ice Secret Domain. Chapter 631, Fire and Ice Secret Domain. The sky was garnet, and the ground underneath this red dome was divided into 2 parts. One was the cracked ground covered in burning flames. Thick lava murmured everywhere, heating up the whole area, making people uncomfortable. The other side was an endless glacier, and people couldn't see where it ended. The whole place was cold and tranquil. No living aura was detected. The world was frozen, and the ground was burning. The section in the middle, where fire and ice met, was a misty place with considerably neutral temperature. It was a desolate, bleak area. No trees, no beasts, no insects. Only flame and cold air permeated here and there. Plain structures made of flame stone and ice rocks were where groups of warriors gathered and discussed. This was the gathering point of the 7 ancient factions, the fire and ice secret domain. Through dozens of thousand years, the martial spirit palace had taken care of this place. After some indefinitely long periods, it would open once. However, since the change of heaven and earth, this secret domain had changed its rule. The passage that led to the outside world wasn't locked anymore. This passage hid layers of dangers. 3 true God Realm experts kept their eyes on this entrance. When they saw the pagans, who were brave enough to break in this place, they would activate all traps in this passage. Unless the intruder was a king god expert, reckless visitors would never return, as both their souls and bodies would perish. The martial spirit palace had guarded the place for so many years. After countless trials, they understood the mysteries of this passage. That's why this place had become the shelter for the 7 ancient factions. Although the alien tribes knew where human clan was hiding, they didn't dare to enter as they hadn't understood the place. Inside a meeting hall that was built entirely of ice rock, the temple master of the Heaven Temple, Qin Gu Chuan, wore a cold face. His iron-gray eyes gazed at a dyed crystal lamp in his hands. A group of Heaven Temples all had a grim countenance, not daring to even breathe loudly. Cold light flared in their eyes. That crystal lamp was the life soul of a true God Realm warrior, which was linked to his soul. When the crystal lamp extinguished, which meant the true God Realm warrior was dead, many warriors of the Chu family had a pale face. They were sad, biting their lips and trembling as they couldn't believe their eyes. Bai Qing's dead. A long time afterward, Qin Gu Chuan took a deep breath to steady his emotion, raking his eyes through the others. He let out a low shout. Who can tell me where he had gone? Everybody exchanged looks. No one had the guts to answer him. They were all panic-stricken. You. Qin Gu Chuan pointed at a man. You always assisted Bai Qing. Don't you know his whereabouts? That man was a second sky of Sky Realm warrior. He was the Chu family's majordomo. He scooped, bending his head, but didn't dare to answer, just shaking his head helplessly. Bummer. Qin Gu Chuan shouted. Suddenly, he released a silver-gray cloud, covering the majordomo's entire body. Please forgive me, the majordomo screeched. His body now was like a block of meat that was squeezed. It distorted horribly. His face reddened, swelling like he was congested. I really don't know. Puff. The majordomo's body burst off like a watermelon. His flesh was drawn into the silver cloud, then grounded into meat pulp. Damn it. You don't even know his whereabouts. Qin Gu Chuan shouted coldly. He glared at the other members of the Chu family. Does anyone know of your master's whereabouts? No one dared to answer. They stooped and kept silent. The Heaven Temple consisted of many families. The Chu family was ranked only behind the Qin family. Chu Bai Qing, the headmaster of the Chu family, was at the first sky of True God Realm. He only listened to Qin Gu Chuan. Under the current circumstances of the 7 ancient factions, each spirit realm warrior was essential. Let alone Chu Bai Qing, a True God Realm expert. The death of Chu Bai Qing had dragged the overall competence of the Heaven Temple down by 1 level. Of course, Qin Gu Chuan would be enraged. Ning Du Quan went missing too. A slender man standing next to Qin Gu Chuan spoke while slightly bending his head. He was around 30 years old, but his hair were all white. His face was as still as a vampire. He seemed never to have any emotion showing on his face. Ning Du Quan. Qin Gu Chuan's face was colder. Good. Good. We've lost 2 headmasters shortly. No one dared to reply. Qin Gu Chuan rose one arm, his face sinister. He seemed to want to slaughter. However, he halted then assigned, send a troop out there and collect intelligence. I want to know what happened to them. Yes, sir. Everybody answered in unison. The entrance of the perpetual night forest. Comoros was waiting for something with a gloomy countenance. After around 1 hour, hundreds of the Ghostmark clan's warriors arrived. The other Grand Sage of the Ghostmark clan, Cassidy, had come. Besides them, there was a small group of the Dark Spirit clan. These people had the cold, evil aura of the dead. They seemed to have no vitality at all. The leader of the Dark Spirit clan had a pair of deep green, bloodthirsty eyes. Comoros, you wanted to kill that kid named Shiryan? After Cassidy came, he frowned and asked anxiously. Bao Ao. He told us to keep that kid alive, didn't he? I don't care about Bao Ao. Comoros snorted, then said coldly, wait until we're done with that stuff. We won't be afraid of Bao Ao anymore. The Dark Devil clan that kid's protecting is our humiliation. We have to clean them all. Cassidy kept silent for a while and then asked, you've made up your mind. Comoros nodded heavily. I have to kill him. He hurt me in the shady firmament old mound. This kid has endless potential. If we don't kill him now, we will have no chance in the future. Cassidy no longer persuaded him. He nodded. So, let's kill them. We will kill all who are present. We won't let anyone escape. Bao Ao could never know. I don't care whether he knows or not, Comoros' evil was aroused. This time, I want to take all the souls into the Een-written charm scripture. Wait until the Een-written charm scripture has enough nutrients, we can awake our patriarch. At that time, let's see what Bao Ao could do to us. When Comoros mentioned their patriarch, Cassidy got excited. He nodded and then said, yeah, as long as our patriarch wakes up, we don't need to worry about anything. Remember what you've agreed with us. The leader of the Dark Spirit clan didn't say anything during their conversation. After the two sages had discussed, he uttered just a faint sentence. Don't worry. What I agreed with you, I'll fulfill it. Comoros glared at him. The other nodded and kept silent again, as if saying something would drain his energy. At the bottom of the lake, a group of people surrounded the Creator's divine pond. They faced up to see the clear lake and the meandering stream with great excitement. The Creator's divine pond used the steam and top-grade essence crystals here as the basis. The star original essence was its generator. Together with the soul-washing divine water, life original fluid, 5 elements crystal marrow, pure soul energy, and so many other auxiliary materials, the pond was built. From a distance, that area didn't look magnificent at all. But when they came closer, they could feel the surging energy instantly. Bloodmane had gone away. He went to bring the 5 elements crystal marrow as they had made a deal. Shiryan's group gathered here, waiting for him. Soul-washing divine water, life original fluid, and 5-element crystal marrow, we almost have them all. However, the pure soul energy I have here is only enough for one person. We need time to complete the filtering process. Shiryan kept silent for a while, then looked at Di Shan and Li Zhengrong. You two, only one of you can enter. Yeah, if nothing unexpected happens, it will be 3 days later. Di Shan didn't answer. He just bent his body, waiting for Shiryan's arrangement. Li Zhengrong was struggling in his heart. Suddenly, he said frankly, let him go first. When we killed Chu Baiqing, he had contributed more. I've not broken through for dozens of years. I'm not hurried. Everybody knew that his thoughts were different than his words. He wanted to be the first one got in there. And they knew how much he had contributed. All right, Di Shan, you get in the pond first. It's the first time, so we should see if any problems happen. Shiryan comforted Li Zhengrong with a smile. Of course, Shiryan knew that there would be nothing unexpected happening when they operated the Creator's divine pond. It's 100% guaranteed. Li Zhengrong didn't know that. When he heard Shiryan's words, he calmed down and even felt a bit lucky. Everything they knew about the Creator's divine pond came from Shiryan himself. Li Zhengrong didn't know anything, so he wasn't sure whether the Creator's divine pond was that magical or anything unexpected would happen. If Di Shan went there first, he would be completely sure. At first, you guys please watch over me. I want to sense the star original essence. Perhaps I can gain something from it. After Shi Yan could confirm that Li Zhengrong agreed to this arrangement, he contemplated for a while to sense the situation of his body. Shi Yan had absorbed the essence qi of Ning Duquan and the old woman. At this moment, his acupuncture points were converting it. Shi Yan could feel this process. About Chu Baiqing. When his body exploded, blood-maned and fiery dragon had swallowed his fragmented body. His essence qi had become the nutrients in those two giant beasts' tummy. However, the essence of Ning Duquan and the old woman was enough for him to leap up to his next level. If he could understand something from the star original essence, perhaps he could take another step in his growth. The star original essence was the core part of a star in the galaxy, containing the mysteries of stars. Each star had been through million or even billion years of transformation until it could have the star original essence. The star original essence was like the soul of a star. It recorded every step of the star's ascension. If Shi Yan could comprehend part of these mysteries, he would have new cognition of the star power, which he could use to break through to the third sky of spirit realm. It was totally possible. Would it damage the star original essence? Li Zhengrong rubbed his hands as he were a little bit worried. Shi Yan had told them that the star original essence was the source of energy supplied for the creator's divine pond. The star energy was divided and then softened to be the best energy pouring into the creator's divine pond. Once the energy of the star original essence was drained, the creator's divine pond wouldn't perform its magical effect of snatching the control of nature. Of course, Li Zhengrong had to worry. I don't want to absorb the energy in it. I just want to comprehend the Upanishads and the mysteries. You are worried too much. Shi Yan smiled and comforted him. Then he ignored the old man, floating to the ancient formation which hadn't been activated due to the shortage of materials. He slowly urged his star martial spirit to attack the star original essence in the core of the formation. Chapter 632, Wicked Genius. Chapter 632, Wicked Genius. A flowing water curtain protected the star original essence in the core of the ancient formation. Just like the soul-washing divine water, it was a fist-sized water drop, which looked really magnificent. Inside the water drop, the star original scene looked like a giant diamond, radiating glorious halo. Sometimes, light dots shot out from it, piercing through the flowing water shell. Starlight shot out around the ancient formation, making the formation glow while emitting a wave of magical energy fluctuations. Shi Yan held his breath and calmed his soul, making his mind clear of thoughts, gazing at that water drop. Gradually, he seemed to form a connection with that water drop, or the star original essence inside the drop to be exact. Star original essence flew out from the ancient formation, trembling in the void and floating towards him. Starlight bloomed out, making Shi Yan comfortable. His heart bounced with vitality. The star martial spirit in his heart turned into countless light dots and expanded. If someone used the soul consciousness to sense his heart at this moment, after zooming in several times, he could see an entire galaxy, which was adorned with innumerous stars. Under the attractive magical force, his star martial spirit came to his front and stopped at his chest. Star dots from everywhere swarmed into his heart. Shi Yan felt his whole body refreshed. The rising negative mood was steadied. At this moment, his acupuncture points were refining the essence qi of Ning Duquan and the old woman. During this process, the raising negative feeling was unavoidable. In the past, he used to fall into bedevilment at this phase easily. He couldn't hold the desire in his heart, and gradually, he lost his mind. However, everything was smoother than he expected. It was the effect of the star power in the star original essence, which calmed his entire body and even his thoughts. He was like a baby in his mother's embrace, feeling an indescribable peace. His soul consciousness, and thoughts were like invisible silk threads grabbing the water drop, forming a magnificent connection to gain the fluctuation coming from the inside. Gradually, he seemed to enter the starry night, visiting the star and watching the changes happening on the star. When it had just begun, the star was as big as a grain of sand. Gradually, it had absorbed some kind of energy in the vast galaxy. After so many years of accumulation and dragging the giant meteor passing by, it had been built up slowly. The star had grown little by little. That star still ascended magically like a creature growing. It slowly gained vitality as it stopped collecting the scattered energy in the starry sky. Something began to change inside the small star. From a little sapling, eventually, it became a giant, towering tree. Yan's soul sank into this miraculous scene. He didn't notice any changes in the outside world, just focusing wholeheartedly. Tian Emperor, Di Shan, and Li Zhengrong were curious. They stood next to him and watched him. They could see the magical star energy fluctuations from him, while star dots were sparkling at his chest continually. After an unknown time, a strong suction force arose at his chest. The never-vanishing stars in the vault of the sky above the lake seemed to be activated instantly. Scattering starlight plunged down from the sky just like billions of fireflies flying toward the lake. Young Tian Emperor's group was frightened. They couldn't help but look at the surface of the lake above their heads. They then saw so many star dots flying towards the lake. They all sank and gathered at Yan's location. This is, Li Zhengrong stammered in astonishment. Afterward, he mumbled, "The wandering star shower." Not many people cultivate the star secret art in the radiant god cult's history. Comprehending the star power in just a flash could lead to the shower of star dots gathering at the warrior. Excellent. Really excellent. He knew the history of the radiant god cult, and this strange phenomenon was mentioned somewhere in their flow of history. It was similar to the brilliant sunlight bathing, which happened when cultivating the flaming sun secret art to the required degree. They all had the same magical effects. This happened when the warrior understood the mysteries of his power, inspiring the change of earth and heaven. Yan would receive a great thing this time, right? Yi Changfeng shook his head in awe. He beamed a forced smile. This kid's innate endowment always makes people jealous. How could he comprehend the realm that easily? Genius, Li Zhengrong acclaimed. He squinted as he was resentful towards his apprentice for not meet his expectations. If you become like Yan, even if I have to die, I'm willing to do it. Yi Changfeng could only laugh to cover his embarrassment. He didn't dare to answer. Not good. Li Zhengrong shouted as he suddenly recalled something. He has created a big change. As long as someone knows about the wandering star shower, he will come here to satisfy his curiosity. Especially, many disciples of the radiant god cult in the perpetual night forest. Listening to him, young Tian Emperor and Di Shan discolored in fright as they realized the seriousness of this situation. Fiery Flame, Fiery Dragon, Silver-Horned, and Blood-Maned had left to prepare the materials for their body quenching. Fiery Dragon had come to Blood-Mane's territory to exchange the materials to strengthen himself and to explain the details to the giant ape. At this moment, there were only 4 people, including Yang Tian Emperor, Di Shan, Li Zhengrong, and Yi Changfeng. If a strong warrior at the true god realm appeared, all of them would have to pay a bloody price. Especially, Yan was now at the critical time to comprehend the power of the star. He shouldn't be disturbed. Otherwise, not only he wouldn't be able to take the star power, he would also have his soul perished. It's tough. Yang Tian Emperor pondered for a while and then made a quick decision. We'll go up there first. No matter who dares to come here, we will kill them all. We won't let anybody leave alive. No one else should know about this. When they were in the endless sea, Yang Tian Emperor was the tyrant overlord of a whole sea. When he killed people, he would never hesitate. He understood that Yan's current situation was unique and also the importance of the Creator's divine pond. Ultimately, he came to the best solution at this moment. Okay. Di Shan nodded. Changfeng, you break the seal at the water surface and let us out. Li Zhengrong mused for a while and then nodded. You stay here. Later on, unless you receive the message sent by my soul, you should never go up there. He and Yi Changfeng could use a secret treasure to engage in soul communication. He was afraid that Yi Changfeng could engage in bad things, so he had asked some blacksmith to forge this treasure. Teacher, please be careful. If you can endure, just run. Surviving is more important than anything. Yi Changfeng's eyes were reddened. He nodded heavily. I'll protect myself. I won't make you worried. Teacher, take care. The perpetual night forest had many experts of the 7 ancient factions operating. The alien tribes also sent their men here. Clansmen of the Ghostmark clan and the Dark Spirit clan also appeared in the forest. The number of level 9 beasts in was more than the number of one's fingers. Li Zhengrong had only the 3rd sky of Spirit Realm, as his efforts had all been put into refining medicines. So, his cultivation base wasn't worth mentioning. If he encountered a strong expert, it wasn't easy to survive. He couldn't help but worry. Yeah, you have to open your eyes wider and live well. Li Zhengrong took a deep breath. After this calamity, when I've entered the true God realm, I can protect you well, kid. Then, Li Zhengrong was the first one moving towards the lake surface. Tian Emperor and Di Shan followed closely behind him. The center of the perpetual night forest. Heaven Temple's warriors got out of the secret domain. While they hadn't done anything yet, they saw the strange phenomenon in the sky in a daze. The white-haired warrior kept silent for a while and then said with bright eyes, "We'll go there and check." He had the peak of Spirit Realm, just a little bit more to reach the true God realm. He was a strong warrior who no one knew where he had been found from. No one knew his profile. But everyone knew he was a dangerous man who possessed a strange energy. He was just a peak of Spirit Realm warrior, but he had fought with Chu Baiqing, the one who had just reached the true God realm. However, he didn't lose that battle. From that day, he became a character who no one dared to underestimate in the Heaven Temple. The master of Heaven Temple favored this man a lot. If the situation this time weren't so bad and the master weren't enraged, he wouldn't have had to get out of the secret domain. Heaven Temple's warriors accompanying him didn't dare to go against his idea, and all nodded. As they had set the target, they moved immediately without any hesitation. They dashed towards the blood-maned giant ape's territory. Almost at the same time, Grand Elders Ji Mu and Yu Ying of the Radiant God cult were staying in a different area. They were looking at the sky with a puzzled countenance. These two had received the order from Yunhao. They were finding Shuryen. Not long after they had gotten out of the secret domain, they found the strange phenomenon in the sky. They were stunned instantly. Some expert of our cult is still in the perpetual night forest? Ji Mu's visage was odd. He was bewildered for a long time. Then he slammed his brows together. A warrior that could inspire such phenomenon, and he still stays somewhere out there. This seems not right to me. Yu Ying kept silent for a while and then said in a faint tone, "Shuryan's cultivating the star martial spirit. He's in the perpetual night forest." Ji Mu was dumbstruck. He acclaimed and then sighed. What a genius! Yu Ying's eyes were complicated, her face strange. Perhaps our master has predicted something. How could it be? Ji Mu shook his head constantly as though he didn't know whether he should cry or smile. You think our master is that superb? If he could even predict this, he would have snatched Shuryen from the endless sea earlier. He would never wait for the man to turn himself in, right? Oh, it's true, Yu Ying got it. Anyway, our master has always protected him. Certainly, he has seen the young man's potential. This proves that our master's eyes are sharp and his vision is excellent. Ji Mu contemplated for a while and then said, our master always wanted to protect them before, even if he had to go against the other 6 factions or our own members. I didn't get it before. But now, yeah, I really admire his wide vision. I told you. Shuryen will go beyond people's imagination. How could we compare to our master's knowledge? Yu Ying snorted. Ji Mu forced a smile, raising one hand. All right, my bad. I shouldn't have scolded you. I'm sorry. Okay, forget it. I'm not going to haggle with you. Yu Ying put on a serious countenance and then said faintly quick. We should go there and check. That kid is really a genius. Chapter 633, Apprehend. Chapter 633, Apprehend. At the lake bottom, Shuryen closed his eyes, his breathing steady. Starlight radiated from his chest. The star original essence looked like a big glorious diamond, shooting out starlight that stormed towards Shuryen and disappeared into his chest in just a blink of an eye. All of a sudden, it seemed Shuryen's soul had absorbed by some energy. He had no energy fluctuation now. It seemed even his soul had paused. If Yi Changfeng didn't see Shi Yan still breathing, he would have shaken him already. Tian Emperor, Di Shan, and Li Zhengrong had gone up to the lake surface. Yi Changfeng sometimes faced up to check the situation above his head, to see if anything was strange or not. The lake was still quiet. There was neither a sign of a battle nor strong living fluctuation. Only the starlight still plunged down from the sky like fireflies. They pierced through the lake's surface, falling into Shi Yan's chest. Yi Changfeng stayed at the bottom of the lake, so he could feel some magical sound emitted from Shi Yan. Gradually, he felt as if his soul and spirit resonated with Shi Yan. Star dots in his eyes became the thought from Shi Yan's soul consciousness, giving him a feeling of having a life. Yi Changfeng was petrified, his face shocked. He was sure that even Shi Yan didn't know what was happening to him. He didn't know that he had attracted so many star dots in the sky. They gathered around him and changed the star martial spirit in his chest. Yi Changfeng could observe clearly. When the lively star dots gathered in front of Shi Yan's chest, they started to move on a magical trajectory, following some rules. Awesome! Yi Changfeng exclaimed in his heart. He shook his head continually as he knew that after this event, Shi Yan could surely break through the second time. By the time Yi Changfeng had met Shi Yan's realm was relatively low at the Nirvana realm. After just 10 years, Shi Yan had leaped up from the Nirvana realm to the second sky of Spirit realm. And, in a short time, he would have the chance to break through the third sky of Spirit realm. Thinking about this fast progress, Yi Changfeng couldn't hold his sigh. He had to accept this fate, giving the title genius to Shi Yan. All of a sudden, Yi Changfeng's pupils shrank. His face changed. He could vaguely feel the new energy fluctuation above the lake. It seemed some new hotshots had arrived. He knew that the short piece of this lake was about to be broken. Above the lake's surface, Tian Emperor, Di Shan, and Li Zhengrong were knitting their brows silently, their face grim. Especially Li Zhengrong, he was surprised for a moment he felt his heart sinking. He let out a low shout. Xiao Hong! Xiao Hong was the white-headed hotshot of the Heaven Temple with the peak of Spirit Realm cultivation base. His face was always stiff, with a pair of unmoving eyes. He gave people the feeling of the dead. Xiao Hong took more than 10 warriors of the Heaven Temple, following the starlight to arrive at this place from the secret domain in the center of the forest. After he could steady his body, he rose one hand to signal the other warriors to stop. The group of Heaven Temple's warriors halted, waiting for his order with their mouths shut. He glared at Li Zhengrong, then stooped to search around. His nose gently fanned as if he were searching for something. Di Shan slightly changed his visage. He looked at Tian Emperor as if he had suddenly remembered something. Tian Emperor stood indifferently. He slightly shook his head to signal the other to not hasten. This place still had the traces of Chu Baiqing killing beasts. Although Tian Emperor was careful enough to clean it up, if the other was a mindful person, he could see some streaks. Apparently, Xiao Hong was that sort of person. He seemed to have some magical power. After he took a tour around the place, he didn't say anything while pressing his slender and delicate white hand, more beautiful than the female hand, on the ground. Light ash-gray smoke diffused from his fingers, swaying into the earth like worms. They quickly moved underground. Xiao Hong closed his eyes as a strange energy wave rippled from him. His body was swaying in the wind, as if he had no bones in his body. This looked extremely eccentric. Afterward, the light smoke he had released came back to him, entering his body through his fingers. Xiao Hong stood upright. He didn't sway with the wind anymore. His eyes opened on his stiff face as he said, Chu Baiqing had come here, and so had Ningdu Quan. If anything happened to them, it's because of you guys. He pointed at Tian Emperor, Di Shan, and Li Zhengrong. However, it's impossible to kill them with your cultivation base and realm. Xiao Hong mused for a while and then said, I can sense the aura of the monster clan. It's certain that the hotshots of the monster clan had helped you. This place belongs to Bloodmane, so he must have joined this battle. He just assumed from the evidence he got and arranged the whole things again. They matched, as though he had seen what happened with his own eyes. His voice was confirmative. Although his tone and words were slow-witted, he had the absolute confidence. Apparently, he agreed with his own assumption. None of the warriors accompanying him doubted his opinion. They trusted him almost immediately. They all knew Qiu Hong's ability, so they knew his assumption wouldn't be wrong. Tian Emperor kept a cold face while observing carefully. Then, he begrudgingly accepted the fact that, whether he admitted it or not, he couldn't change the direction of this event's development. Be careful. Li Zhengrong sighed, talking in a low tone. Qiu Hong's a dangerous person. Although he is only the spirit realm cultivation base, he could fight a tide battle with the true god realm warriors. Tian Emperor and Di Shan were grim. Tell me the reasons Qiu Hong didn't hasten to attack them. He kept talking with a dull voice. Why did you guys join hands with the monster clan? Why did you kill our Heaven Temple's warriors? He paused for a while and then continued. The reasons why you guys are still alive was because you hadn't attacked the 7 ancient factions warriors. But now, you're walking the same path with the monster clan. This means you are standing on the opposite side to us. I think, without a reasonable explanation, I can only kill you all. Qiu Hong spoke as if it was the most natural thing. Tian Emperor cracked a smile. Then it's simple. You die or we die. Good then, Qiu Hong nodded and attacked them immediately. In a thick forest. The 2 high-grade existences of the monster clan, Fiery Dragon and Bloodmaned, were quarreling. They slowly exposed themselves. Fiery Dragon, you're an A** shoal. You want to take benefit from this alone. Harumph, I know what you think. You are waiting until your energy reaches the acme and you will find me and take revenge, right? Bloodmaned grunted. I'm telling you, you will never be my rival. I will always subdue you. Bloodmaned, you shouldn't be so contented. After I've refined my body this time, I will break to another level. Then, I will kick your A**s easily, said Fiery Dragon angrily. When the beasts communicated, they always made it simple and savage. They wouldn't be wordy or probing too much. They were always frank. It would be joining hands or being the enemy or shouting at each other. Bloodmaned suddenly shouted. He looked around and cursed. Someone's swaggering in my territory. Not good. They're above the lake. Fiery Dragon also cursed. They must be the damn humans. They came already. Growling, I hate them. Bloodmaned was roaring like an erupting volcano. He wanted to go to the lake immediately. Right at this moment, a cold, gloomy voice arose. Misters, I want to discuss something with you. Bloodmaned and Fiery Dragon halted, their face grim. Kamaras and Cassidy, the 2 sages of the Ghostmark clan, emerged from the forest. Their spooky, deep green eyes gazed at Bloodmaned and Fiery Dragon, but their attitude wasn't clear. Ghostmark clan. Bloodmaned snorted, his face impatient. You've been strolling around the perpetual night forest for so long. What do you want after all? No matter what you want to do it quick. Don't be sticky here. You're so annoying. Kamaros darkened his face. We come to ask why Fiery Dragon wants to protect the humans. Fiery Dragon didn't put him in his mind. What does it matter to you? Should you be able to control who I should protect? This is the perpetual night forest, our monster clan's territory. It isn't your shady firmament old mound. Do you think you could share everything here? Fiery Dragon, what is he babbling about? Bloodmaned harumphed. He wants to kill Shi Yan. Fiery Dragon faced up, talking as if he were really irritated. That kid is my distinguished guest. How can I let these cunning folks kill him? I want to favor him more. Of course, Bloodmaned knew what favor he mentioned. He almost didn't hesitate and nodded continually. You guys can't kill him. He's useful to us. I don't care if you want to kill anyone else. But if you want to touch him, don't blame me for being impolite. I don't understand why the strong beasts like you guys need a human kid. Cassidy couldn't understand their points. I can't explain it to you guys, apparently. Fiery Dragon didn't want to answer. Can you not protect him? Kamaras pondered and then shouted, his face malicious. Stop being arrogant in front of us. This place is the perpetual night forest. The Ghostmark clan can't swagger here. Bloodmane's aura bloomed out. He couldn't hold it but attack the others. Kill. Comoros was also stimulated. The Een-written charm scripture needed strong souls. If they could get the souls of Bloodmaned and Fiery Dragon, their big business would be done. He thought he could bet on it this time. Ji-mu and Yu-ing were running as fast as if they were flying. They almost got there. Seeing the star dots falling like a heavy rain toward a lake, Ji-mu and Yu-ing were excited. They kept complimenting. Boom, boom, boom. Fierce noise of energy impact arose from that area. The shocking waves shook the entire ground. A frightened streak appeared across Ji-mu's eyes. He shouted, "Furious battles are ahead of us. 2 places. There are true God Realm warriors." Yu-ing changed her face dramatically. She hesitated and then asked, "Do we need to notify our master?" "Of course." Ji-mu affirmed, Shiryen wouldn't be safe in any area. "I think these battles relate to him." Yu-ing agreed. She nodded continually as she started to send the news to Yunhao. Chapter 634, Mind Perception. Chapter 634, Mind Perception. Tian Emperor and Di Shan were struggling hard with grimaced faces. Xiao Hong had stirred up their temperament. Xiao Hong had pushed them, making them have no strategy left to try. Xiao Hong had stopped their mysterious attacks right before they could cast them completely. None of their attacks could reach Xiao Hong. It seemed Xiao Hong could predict their moves. He could always avoid Tian Emperor's and Di Shan's attack one step ahead. It seemed the void was filled with Xiao Hong eyes, giving him the ability to see every single situation. Swoosh! A drop of blood shot out from Tian Emperor's middle finger, a drop of immortal blood. It turned into a flow of red light that nothing could compare with, carrying the thick smell of bloody waves, darting rapidly. Wind howled and twirled from the pair of Di Shan's pure black wings. Wind blades covered the whole sky like countless shiny knives, creating a light curtain of wind blades. It looked terrifying. However, under the waves of Tian Emperor's and Di Shan's attack, Xiao Hong had always moved one step ahead of them. When he reappeared, he was in the blind corner that Tian Emperor's and Di Shan's attack couldn't reach. Then, he walked to Tian Emperor and Di Shan with a golden leaf in his hand, his face still emotionless. His palm glowed with a glorious golden light. The golden light radiated, shining on that golden leaf, revealing the clear lines like the lines of human palms. It seemed to contain the life Upanishads. Gradually, immense fluctuations of life rippled from that golden leaf, turning into a gold light sea, raging torrentially. It dissolved Tian Emperor's and Di Shan's attacks, pushing them backward continually. The gold light sea that the golden leaf created could confine people's souls and restrain their hearts. When the golden light shone on Tian Emperor and Di Shan, they immediately had a dispirited feeling, making them quit attacking and want to surrender. It was fortunate that these two had the will of steel, and they were both brave and ruthless. They reacted by biting their tongue to wake up themselves from the state. Xiao Hong didn't say anything during their battle. His face was dull and emotionless. With a steady mood, he attacked the other two neither slowly nor fast. However, Tian Emperor and Di Shan had no means to stop him. The situation was obviously getting worse. Tian Emperor was at the second sky of Spirit Realm. With his martial spirit, the profound experience in fighting, and the god blood in his body, when he fought with the experts at the peak of Spirit Realm, he wouldn't fall into the disadvantaged situation. Di Shan was the patriarch of the Black-Winged clan with exquisite powers and a special rigid body of the Demon clan. Fighting with a human at the same realm, he should be more certain. However, Xiao Hong's prophetic ability had broken their perception, revealing their weak points. They had to struggle hard to resist. Li Zhengrong was engaging in the battle with the 10 warriors that Xiao Hong had brought. 4 of them were at the Spirit Realm, and the others were at the third sky of Sky Realm. This force was dealing with Li Zhengrong alone. Li Zhengrong's situation wasn't positive either. However, those warriors didn't want to kill Li Zhengrong, apparently. They were controlling their attacks as they just wanted to capture him alive, perhaps. Li Zhengrong had too many secret treasures. While his hands were moving, his strange secret treasure soared to the sky, releasing magical waves that neutralized the warrior's attack. As the most brilliant alchemist of the Dead Soul Mountain range, his position was noble. Alchemists around the world respected and admired him a lot. Using secret treasures to exchange for medicines wasn't a strange business. During these recent years, the treasures he got in the Dead Soul Mountain range weren't bad. The worst of them were the spirit grade ones. He also had 7 or 8 sacred grade treasures. He only needed to use the secret treasures and weapons to smash the warriors at his realm. Li Zhengrong was holding a massive banner, which was embroidered with lively monsters and devils. When he waved it, these figures started to bare their claws and fangs, as if they had been revived, spurting thick green smoke. This smoke carried a poison that dizzied people. Everybody had to halt their attacks and deal with this poison. Seized the opportunity, Li Zhengrong ran away, flying to Tian Emperor and Di Shan and shouting, "Be careful. Xiao Hong has the mind perception martial spirit. He can read your thoughts and predict your moves." Tian Emperor and Di Shan changed their countenances in fright. Finally, they knew why they were opposed. The mind perception martial spirit could read changes in the mind of the opponent, which helped him find the way to break or avoid it one step ahead. Although there weren't so many martial spirits in the divine Great Land, they could buy some martial spirits. However, the magical and unpredictable martial spirits were rare and precious. No ancient factions would sell the martial spirit's original seal. It would be inherited through the family's bloodline. The mind martial spirit was the most magical one. Every warrior had to long for it. In the divine Great Land, mind and soul martial techniques were the precious resources of the 7 ancient factions. Even the hotshots of that faction sometimes didn't have a chance to practice them. Xiao Hong's mind perception martial spirit was inborn. During fighting, he could use this martial spirit to read the next move of the opponent precisely. Warriors at the same realm could never be his rivals. Even the high realm warriors had to receive a big headache fighting with him. No matter how strong their attacks were, they were useless. Tian Emperor's and Di Shan's cultivation base wasn't much different from Xiao Hong's. In their battle, he could use the mind perception ability to avoid all of their attacks. He just needed to focus on them. Right at the beginning, he was undefeatable. "Oh, that's it?" Tian Emperor was surprised. He reacted immediately, laughed, then sat down motionlessly. Flows of thick blood aura diffused from Tian Emperor, creating a curtain of dense blood smog, covering him. Layers of blood air currents moved, rippling around him. The energy of heaven and earth sizzled together. "I got it," Di Shan was amazed. He followed the other to sit down. He didn't attack, just using his best to defend. As long as they attacked, their mind would reflect their moves and Xiao Hong could read them immediately, and he always dodged the attacks on time. This way, he could wear their energies and defeat them ultimately. However, when the two didn't take action but just defended, waiting for his attack, this was another situation. Although Xiao Hong knew their defending energy fluctuations, what could he do? He had to break their defense to reach Di Shan and Tian Emperor. He had to consume his energy to do that. Tian Emperor and Di Shan used the strategy to carry out the battle of attrition with Xiao Hong, using the unchanged to deal with the ever-changing. Once Xiao Hong ran out of power, they would attack him again. This was a good tactic to deal with warriors who cultivated mind techniques like Xiao Hong. "Marvelous," Li Zhengrong complimented. "Yang Ji is really extraordinary. You can think of the countermeasure that quickly." Tian Emperor cracked a smile, teasing Xiao Hong, "Come over here." Xiao Hong stopped all of a sudden. He frowned, then swept his eyes through Li Zhengrong, talking indifferently. "Mr. Li, I didn't want to hurt you. You are an alchemist. Your life benefits us. But if you want to stand on the opposite side to the 7 ancient factions, you shouldn't blame me." Then, Xiao Hong shifted his target to Li Zhengrong. He ignored Tian Emperor and Di Shan. Li Zhengrong changed his visage. Tian Emperor and Di Shan frowned, exchanging looks, their complexions worried. Although Li Zhengrong had the 3rd sky of Spirit Realm, he had paid too much attention to refining medicines. His fighting experience wasn't enough. When Qiu Hong aimed at him, he could know the attacking trajectory of Li Zhengrong's secret treasures. Even if Li Zhengrong put forth everything to defense, he wasn't Qiu Hong's opponent. Li Zhengrong was in danger. Yang Tian Emperor and Di Shan were hesitant. They were about to break their defending state to assist him. Right at this moment, two lights zoomed over from a far distance. Two figures were flying toward them. They were Yu Ying and Ji Mu. Yang Tian Emperor and Di Shan shivered. They were astounded, their face petrified. Ah! When Ji Mu arrived, he looked here and there, his face surprised. Where's he? Where's that kid? In the lake, Yu Ying pointed at the lake. Don't you see that all of the starlight is flying into the lake? He should be in the bottom of the lake. Ji Mu nodded, yeah, should be in the lake. Haha. Seems we arrived at the wrong time. The fight here is bustling. Everybody paused, looking at Ji Mu and Yu Ying with a stunned face, as they didn't know the two's attitude. You. Why do you come here? Young Tian Emperor hesitated for a while and then frowned. Recently, when the 7 ancient factions wanted to kill them, only the Radiant God cult stood up to protect them. As these two were from the Radiant God cult, young Tian Emperor was confused, so he had to ask them, then plan the next countermeasure. We're finding Shi Yan. Yu Ying beamed a faint smile. We don't care about the other things. You guys just need to tell me where Shi Yan is. Arg, I don't need you to tell us anyway. He should be in the lake bottom. Grrrrrr. Roar rare. 2 crazy roars arose not far from them. Afterward, 2 intimidating auras were moving fast towards them. Yu Ying and Ji Mu exchanged looks. Their faces darkened as they knew the situation wasn't going well. Not long after that, Fiery Dragon and Bloodmane appeared. Their giant bodies crushed the ancient big trees as if they were just little dried branches. They were roaring and fighting against someone while moving towards this area. Seemed they were besieged in a bad situation. Yang Tian Emperor, Di Shan, and Li Zhengrong were struck. They had planned to use Fiery Dragon and Bloodmane to solve the situation here. But when they saw the situation of the 2 monsters, they had to change their faces in fear. Their heart sank as they knew the situation was too bad. All of them saw the true god realm experts of the Ghostmark clan and the Dark Spirit clan. This made them grimmer. Chapter 635, Young Tian Emperor Gets Crazy. Chapter 635, Young Tian Emperor Gets Crazy. Fiery Dragon and Bloodmane were restlessly agitated. Comoros and Cassidy of the Ghostmark clan were oppressing them furiously. Especially the true god realm expert of the Dark Spirit clan, his attack was so malicious. Comoros and Cassidy had the true god realm cultivation base. Cassidy was at the 2nd sky of True God Realm while Comoros was at the 3rd sky of True God Realm. However, they couldn't use their full power at this moment. They seemed to be equal to Fiery Dragon and Bloodmane. Vision of the Dark Spirit clan had the 2nd sky of True God Realm cultivation base. The warrior of the Dark Spirit clan had a body as firm as pure steel. Perhaps his body was even more tenacious than Fiery Dragon and Bloodmane. Comoros, Cassidy, and Vision had joined hands, together with many hotshots of the Ghostmark clan. Fiery Dragon and Bloodmane couldn't endure such force. They were fighting and retreating at the same time. They wanted to find Yang Tian Emperor and Di Shan to help them. Too bad, Yang Tian Emperor's side had been already struggling. Qin Hong was enough to hold them down. Seeing Comoros leading a group of the Ghostmark clan's hotshots, pushing Bloodmane to this area, Yang Tian Emperor and Di Shan were hesitant, their faces grimaced. Arg! Fiery Dragon shouted, rolling his eyes at Qin Hong and the Heaven Temple's group, speaking indignantly. So annoying! Why do I have to meet these human brats everywhere? Bloodmane, Fiery Dragon, if you ignore Shi Yan, we will leave immediately. Comoros hovered in the air, his face cold. Vision of the Dark Spirit clan didn't say anything. His deep green eyes flared a bloodthirsty, malicious light as if he hated that he couldn't kill everybody here. He was looking at the group of human experts including Qin Hong, Yang Tian Emperor, and Ji Mu. While the Dark Spirit clan had been confined in the Dead Soul Mountain range, Many wandering dead souls had been hunted by human warriors in the Dead Soul Mountain range, turning into refining materials for their weapons or medicines. Turning back to the resentment they had cast 10,000 years ago, human clan had sealed them in the foreign land, making the members of the Dark Spirit clan live with their bodies and souls separated, which had decreased their power drastically. Ivision had a deep grudge against humans, much more than what he had against Fiery Dragon and Bloodmaned. This situation doesn't seem right. Jimu shifted his look from Fiery Dragon, Bloodmaned, to the hotshots of the Dark Spirit clan and the Ghostmark clan. He said with great confusion, "Seems like all this relates to that kid Shiryan." Yuying couldn't hold her forced smile, talking in a low tone. "That boy is truly a disaster." Jimu and Yuying didn't join their conversation. They just stood there with a complicated complexion. They wanted to retreat quietly as they saw something wrong here. Fiery Dragon and Bloodmaned were the level 9 members of the Monster Clan. They were equal to the True God Realm warriors. Besides, there were 3 more pagans at the True God Realm. This force was something human clan could resist. If they stayed here, it was not different from suicide. Qin Hong was hesitant. His face suddenly changed into a little anxious. He spoke to the other warriors quietly. "Prepare to withdraw." "Damn humans." Ivision of the Dark Spirit clan changed his countenance and shouted as he saw the human groups want to leave. "Kill them first." Comoros, Cassidy of the Ghostmark clan heard Ivision. They nodded, swinging their arms. "Kill humans first." The warriors of the Ghostmark clan stormed out from behind Comoros and Cassidy, furiously attacked Qin Hong and the warriors of the Heaven Temple. Fiery Dragon and Bloodmaned didn't move. They didn't know Qin Hong, Yuying, and Jimu. Of course, they wouldn't care about their lives. They even wished that the Ghostmark clan and the Dark Spirit clan would kill them all. Jimu and Yuying paled. They halted while dashing under the shades of the ancient trees. They suddenly felt a malicious soul thought snatching down like a soul seal, dizzying their consciousness. Comoros looked cold and evil. A strange light shone radiantly on his eyes as he was using the mysterious soul technique of the Ghostmark clan, covering all people around him. Although Qin Hong could sense it beforehand as his mind perception could recognize the soul seal, he didn't have the competence to avoid it since the soul-binding technique the other was using had blocked all directions. An invisible soul net snatched down from the sky, enveloping the entire area. The creatures under that massive net felt as if their soul had been stagnant in a bog. The more their souls struggling, the deeper they sank into the darkness. Their consciousness started to scatter as they were about to lose their minds. Young Tian Emperor, Li Zhengrong, Qin Hong, Jimu, and Yuying weren't exceptions. These human warriors were covered in the soul-restraining power that Comoros had released. Their sea of consciousness became turbulent. Gradually, they were all stirred up. Quite the contrary, Dishan wasn't affected. He stayed unharmed. Although he didn't understand soul power, with the sturdy body of the Winged Clan, he wouldn't be affected by strong soul energy. Regarding using soul, he was really dumb. Although he could recognize something weird, he didn't know where it came from. Fiery Dragon and Bloodmaned weren't affected either. Their situation was similar to Dishan of the Black Winged Clan. They all had a tenacious body. They were the creatures that didn't depend on the soul to level up. To human clan, it was the deadly soul fluctuation. But to them, its effects weren't really fierce, so they didn't need to be tense. The sun, moon, and stars were shining in the sky. The bustling forest where furious battles had taken place suddenly quieted. There was no sound or noise. Only Yang Tian Emperor, Li Zhengrong, and the others were holding their heads, painfully resisting something. Fiery Dragon and Bloodmane stood next to each other. They were discussing in a low tone, considering whether to help Yang Tian Emperor and Li Zhengrong or not. Dishan stood not far from Fiery Dragon and Bloodmaned. His eyes were filled with wicked thoughts. He was urging his power impatiently. He understood that if Fiery Dragon and Bloodmaned didn't help them, Yang Tian Emperor and Li Zhengrong would have the same ending as Qin Hong and his warriors. The soul energy Comoros had released would kill them little by little. Dishan knew his competence. He would never be able to disturb the experts of the Ghostmark clan and the Dark Spirit clan. He could only depend on Fiery Dragon and Bloodmane, but he didn't dare to provoke their beast instinct, as he was afraid that it would break everything. If he dies, Shurian won't let us at ease. He's Shurian's great-grandfather. Dishan waited for a while, then pointed at Tian Emperor. If Shurian's agitated, none of you will live in peace. Hearing Dishan, Fiery Dragon and Bloodmane couldn't help but change their visage. They became restless quietly. Roar! However, at this moment, young Tian Emperor suddenly roared with a wild countenance. Blood splashed from his entire body. Instantly, he became bloody crazy. The soul restraint from Komaros lost its effect on Tian Emperor. The bloody Tian Emperor stormed forward like the moth heading towards the flame. He dashed towards Komaros and shouted, "I want you to die." Drops of ruby immortal blood flowed through his veins, blending with the god blood in his body. At this moment, Tian Emperor's power was beyond the power of a spirit realm warrior. His flow of energy was wild and brutal, carrying an endless murderous aura. His flesh and blood started to melt when he got enraged, which looked terrifying. Everybody gazed at him in fright. Their faces changed dramatically. They didn't expect that this second sky of spirit realm human warrior could be so formidable and insane at the same time. They all were petrified. Even Vision of the Dark Spirit clan was startled, his face disbelieving. This was the first time he put on the solemn countenance. When they were in the Endless Sea, Tian Emperor was the peerless warrior. That year, when he was still at the first sky of Spirit Realm, he had resisted the 3/3 sky of Spirit Realm hotshots of the Demon Clan. The power he had shown them at that time had terrorized people. Today, he had reached the second sky of Spirit Realm. At the most critical time, he had burned the immortal blood as the price for his tremendous bursting power. A precious armor made of blood emerged from his bloody bones, covering his bones. It was vivid red and evilly strange. This armor seemed to drink from his flesh and blood, making his aura more imposing. A magical blood will appeared in Tian Emperor's hand. The blood will look like a sun dyed in blood. It was burning, releasing a garnet light accompanied by the thick scent of blood, darting towards Komaros. While the magical wheel was moving, blood waves rippled layers by layers. Hundreds of waves piled up, creating a viscous blood object. It nauseated the true God Realm warriors like Komaros. The blood in their bodies couldn't help but surge turbulently. Tian Emperor's aura burst instantly as a blood light shot toward Komaros. Komaros was frightened, as he was scared by the erupting power of Tian Emperor. He shouted, "Cassidy!" Cassidy's face showed that he was struck. The scattered tattoos on his body suddenly revived. The tattoos flew out of his body, turning into so many dark green written techniques, gathering in the void. A strange, evil fluctuation emitted from them. All ancient trees near Cassidy seemed to be led by that strange energy. Rigid branches became as flexible as cotton. They extended massively towards Tian Emperor like countless tentacles. Wood power. This was the innate ability of the ghost tattoos on Cassidy's body. It could manipulate any kind of flora to help him. The trees would become the extension of his limbs. These giant trees seemed to have a new life. They wiggled and extended their branches to cover the entire sky. Tian Emperor was coiled, and his speed reduced. *CK it. Move. Fiery Dragon roared. He twisted his giant body, sweeping his dragon tail forward, cutting the branches piece by piece. As Bloodmane saw the dragon taking action, his brutal nature was stirred up. He let out a long roar and then started to attack Cassidy. The gold fur in front of his chest was like a shower, shooting and covering both Cassidy and Komaros. The soul power Komaros had released lost its effects instantly. Human warriors, including Li Zhengrong, Qin Hong, Ji Mu, and Yuing restored their clear mind. They immediately got the situation. Right at this moment, the tranquil lake started to ripple. A halo of starlight shot out from the bottom of the lake. Shan's eyes brightened. He was cheered up. The boy's good now. Fiery Dragon laughed wildly. He steadied his mind and attacked Komaros while roaring furiously. The perpetual night forest belongs to the demon clan. Who dares to mess here? I'll make him live in misery. Chapter 636. Fierce Man. Chapter 636. Fierce Man. Yang Tian Emperor's blood and flesh were burning hot like flames. He was sinking in insanity. What he was burning was his immortal blood and the god blood he had absorbed. The immortal blood and the god blood were stimulated thoroughly. The erupting energy had broken Camarosa's soul restraint. It also burned Cassidy's wood power that was entangling him into ashes. Just like the moth flying into the flame, he stormed towards Cassidy, using the blood sea to cover him. In the blood sea Yang Tian Emperor had released, even the true god realm warrior Cassidy had to struggle hard. The energy from Yang Tian Emperor's body had disordered Cassidy's blood, making it turbulent. His consciousness became hazy. When Fiery Dragon and Bloodmane saw the big change in their current situation, they didn't hesitate anymore, barging in and entangling Camaros and Eye Vision. Above the lake surface, light shadows entangled. Different energies impacted. Two giant figures towered the entire area like giant cloud clusters. Countless trees were exploded and smashed due to the shock waves and energy impact. Qin Hong and the Heaven Temple's group felt tiny in such an earth-shaking battle. They felt anxious. Qin Hong didn't dare to act rashly. He wasn't sure if leaving at this moment would enrage the beasts or not. They hid in the broken pieces of wood, still panic-stricken. Ji Mu and Ewing exchanged looks. They gawked, unable to believe their own eyes as they were looking at Yang Tian Emperor in his insanity. They were scared. That man, is he really at the spirit realm? Ji Mu sighed in fear, shaking his head continually. I can't imagine any spirit realm warrior could burst out such formidable power like him. Yu Ying bit her lips, couldn't hold her miserable smile. Perhaps people around Shuryen are all mysterious and imposing like him. Sometimes I think whether it's true or not that our divine great land has been peaceful for so long, and that's why we don't have any peerless warrior. The brutal craziness Yang Tian Emperor was exposing was beyond their common knowledge. It was so formidable. Cassidy was a true god realm warrior of the Ghostmark clan. He had received the ancient inheritance with the innate mysterious tattoos of the Ghostmark clan. Although he hadn't recovered completely, it was enough to have a battle with the peak human warriors of the divine great land. However, Cassidy was struggling to fight with Yang Tian Emperor. Apparently, he had fallen into the disadvantaged situation. The development of this battle had gone beyond their imagination. As Ji Mu and Ewing found that no one noticed them, they didn't hasten to leave, but hid in a corner and observed the situation. They wanted to know the next events. Yang Tian Emperor seemed to get crazy. A blood armor covered his exquisite bones. The blood wheel in his hand was rippling blood waves, carrying out the energy of desperation. Di Shan faced up to watch the sky. His black wings fluttered gently as a helpless, desperate feeling swarmed his soul. Yang Tian Emperor had also affected him. At this moment, Di Shan got to know that Yang Tian Emperor had concealed his real competence from the beginning. He hadn't performed his best yet. The blood wheel and the energy Yang Tian Emperor released around his body carried a deep despair-intent domain. It looked like he could only urge his real power instantly at the moment he had fallen into a desperate situation. At that time, he could achieve a state no one had ever imagined. He had used desperation to awake his rampage power, causing the subdued opponents an immense despair. He had used his steel will, which had been quenched by hundreds of battles, to destroy his opponents' minds. The way Yang Tian Emperor comprehended his power was apparently an evil, crooked path. It was crazy and stubborn. Only the imposing character, whose face was calm and heart was wild like him, could walk on this extraordinary cultivating path. He could burn his own flesh and blood in desperation, igniting the god blood he had absorbed to burst out his best potential in the dead corner. Only an extremely cold-blooded person, who was cruel to even himself, could comprehend and develop it furiously. Yang Tian Emperor was that sort of a fierce man. Using the second sky of Spirit Realm cultivation base, he had burned his blood and flesh to gather the power from the desperate situation to stimulate his potential and erupt the power hiding in his flesh and blood. He had used the hopeless thought of the certain death to forcefully drag his opponents into the nightmare of despair. He had used his incomparable will to die together with his opponents. Such a character, if he weren't crazy, he was a madman with great wisdom and willpower. Cassidy was distressed. Submerged in the intent domain created by Tian Emperor, the terrifying sight in which the Ghostmark clan was destroyed emerged in his head. Each member of the Ghostmark clan burned like dying fireworks. They shot up to the sky and fell one by one. Their souls perished before their bodies reached the ground. As their grand sages, he and Comoros had no solution. Their souls were confined, and they could only see things accelerated to the point they were afraid of the most. They could only watch their patriarch being besieged and hurt severely by countless experts. They had witnessed their patriarch burn his soul to send them into the unwritten charm scripture before he sealed it and died. Painful and pathetic memories uncontrollably rose in his heart. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't wash them away. Cassidy's inner demon was born. A helpless despair appeared from a deep place in his heart. He felt all of his power had left him, while his soul was sinking into darkness. He was a true God realm expert, but he couldn't get rid of the desperate power Tian Emperor had released. He had been dragged into the abyss of a nightmarish memory. He didn't have the will to resist or the determination to risk his life to escape. That genocide battle was forever his inner demon. After so many years, he had pressed it down, trying to forget. He didn't dare to recall or think about it. He thought he had gotten over this painful challenge. Only when Tian Emperor burned his god blood and his flesh to release the energy he had comprehended in despair, Cassidy recognized that he hadn't escaped that knot in his heart. He still bore the grudge of that humiliating past. He was a true god realm warrior, but his mind was seized, and his power decreased drastically. In Tian Emperor's furious wave of attack, the Red Blood Sea, he was like a simple leaf that would sink in the Blood Sea at any minute. Everybody was subdued by the strange phenomenon in the sky. At his second sky of Spirit Realm, the power Tian Emperor had demonstrated now wasn't less than the peak of true God realm warriors in the divine Great Land. The bursting power in desperation was the most stubborn and extreme power in the world. It was like the sharp sword dyed in blood that could pierce through everything. Tui. Cassidy gushed out blood, dripping on his chest. His clear and bright eyes started to lose the focus as they no longer had light. Tian Emperor was now a bloody skeleton. None of his muscles was intact. He looked so terrible that everybody would feel the extreme fear at first glance looking at him. Some timid people would instantly have butterflies in their stomach and vomit directly. To which degree of brutality and craziness he had to burn his body to pursue the extreme power Upanishad under the pain of ripping the heart. The one who could reach this far, who didn't treat his flesh body as he should, if he couldn't increase his strength massively, even God would disagree. Cassidy spat blood. His aura was restrained. Blood trickled from the corners of his mouth like two small streams, continually flowing down his body. It was as if blood in his body was led by some mysterious force, and it wouldn't stop until all of his blood had run out of his body. Qin Hong watched the scene from a distance. Later on, he sighed and shook his head. Hero. He suddenly realized that although he had been pressing Tian Emperor, he couldn't put the old man into a hopeless situation. He felt lucky now. Otherwise, what awaited him was the extreme sea blood. Qin Hong understood that if Tian Emperor had done it on him, with his real competence, he would have died already. In Heaven Temple, he was addressed as the man who should never be underestimated. However, as he had witnessed Tian Emperor's burst in a desperate situation, he knew he was too far behind this man. No wonder why our master has appreciated him that much. Jimu was bewildered for a while and then sighed. I rarely admire people, but today I admire him. Turns out there's a fierce man like him in this world. Yuan kept silent, just nodding to show her agreement. Fiery Dragon and Bloodmaned were concentrating on dealing with Comoros and Vision. These two high-grade monster clans experts were savage. Their powers weren't less than the other two pagans. When everybody was gazing at Tian Emperor, the rippling lake had calmed down. The brilliant starlight didn't shower from the sky anymore. The lake surface became the tranquil, bright mirror again. It reflected the fierce fight above the lake. There was no ripple on the lake surface. A scarlet halo appeared on the lake and started to expand. The extreme heat rose, and shortly, the lake surface cracked open into a small duct. While the battle above the lake was still excited and furious, a majestic body got out of the lake from that small duct. He slowly emerged in the light of the sun, moon, and stars. Then, he frowned and observed the sight. Di Shan was looking at Tian Emperor with admiration. He suddenly sensed something, turning around. He was dumbstruck, kneeling down right away and greeting with great respect. "Master." Yan nodded gently. Millions of star dots were covering him. They looked like a dense cloud of winged insects, hovering around him. At first glance, he looked like he was wearing a brilliant costume made of stars, which was gloriously beautiful. On his chest, intimidating soul fluctuations rippled. Countless star rivers crossed each other, twinkling as though they could dazzle people. It looked like he had numerous galaxies gathered in front of his chest and helping him collect and maintain the mysterious star abilities of the vast star sea. "Master, you've broken through again?" Di Shan sensed for a while and then shouted in joy. Yan beamed a faint smile to confirm his assumption. Suddenly, Yan darkened his face, squinting and looking at Tian Emperor, who was covered in blood. "What's going on?" Di Shan stooped and quickly briefed him about what had happened. Yan listened to him with a stiff face. His eyes gradually became cold and evil. Later, he nodded, raking his eyes through Qin Hong's group and ordering Di Shan. "Kill." Di Shan happily regarded him and then stormed towards the Heaven Temple's group. Chapter 637. Tit for Tat. Chapter 637. Tit for Tat. Yan lifted his head while his arms positioned in the posture of drawing a bowstring. Countless star dots massively rolled from his chest to between his arms. In just a moment, a Big Dipper bow was formed by the star dots. Fist-sized clusters of star dots arrayed the Big Dipper. A starlight arrow was slowly condensed, then gently knocked on the bow. Swoosh! A shooting light crossed the sky and pierced through layers of obstacles, darting towards Qiu Hong. Qiu Hong's spirit trembled. His mind perception martial spirit couldn't catch Yan's thought. It couldn't guess the trajectory of this starlight arrow. He could only feel an imposing danger flying towards him at an unimaginable speed. It was like a dark hand that he couldn't see, grabbing and squeezing his neck resentfully. Qiu Hong felt suffocated. His pores were all blocked, and his face was filled with fear. Light dots zoomed in his eyes. That light shot was like a meteorite falling from the immense galaxy, bringing with it the ancient power of the vault of heaven, shooting directly to his chest. Qiu Hong's visage changed dramatically. He didn't have time to think as he urged his mind perception martial spirit, pouring all his vehement thought into the golden leaf. The golden leaf bloomed a fierce, dazzling, golden halo. It transformed in the void, turning into many glorious golden leaves, piling up and creating a hefty shield in front of him. Clang! Clang! Light sparked everywhere, while the golden leaf wall was shaken. Sounds echoed like the jingling of bells. Qiu Hong's face suddenly reddened, as fear arose deep inside his gray eyes. At this moment, Di Shan arrived, and started to slaughter the other warriors of the Heaven Temple. "Oldly!" Yan let out a low shout. Li Zhengrong reacted timely. He didn't say anything but stormed forward. Many different types secret treasures flew out, bombarding the warriors. At the same time, Yan summoned War Devil, pointing at Qiu Hong. War Devil turned into a shadow, disappearing into the bright sky. When it reappeared, it had already reached Qiu Hong. Qiu Hong discolored. His mind trembled. This was the first time he got scared. He didn't know why his mind perception martial spirit had lost its effect. He couldn't read War Devil at all. War Devil wasn't a creature, it didn't have the soul fluctuation. It was just a fighting puppet with the powers of its owner when he was still alive. The puppet's appearance was to deal with Qiu Hong. Qiu Hong was always dependent on his mind perception martial spirit, but it didn't work with War Devil. At this moment, his weakness was exposed. His power wasn't excellent enough. War Devil pushed forward, and the golden halo in front of Qiu Hong was devoured bit by bit. All of a sudden, he fell into a dark abyss. The War Devil alone was enough to deal with him. Li Zhengrong and Di Shan had joined them from a far distance. Sometimes they barged in, totally subduing Qiu Hong. Not far from them, Shi Yan turned around to look at Tian Emperor. His eyes became cold and evil as his anger blazed. He didn't know that the more Tian Emperor was pushed, the more intimidating power he could erupt with. In Shi Yan's eyes, Tian Emperor had consumed all of his flesh and blood, which indicated he had been strenuous to the acme. He was pushed until he went insane. Comoros and Cassidy arrived here to show him that they wanted to clear the Dark Devil clan. They also wanted to kill him, their master. To ensure the result, they had even invited the hotshot of the Dark Spirit clan. They wanted to capture them all at once. If Fiery Dragon and Bloodmane hadn't supported them, even if Tian Emperor had burst out his energy of desperation, they wouldn't have been able to endure it. Perhaps they all would have already died. Shi Yan's face was cold and dark. His lips curled into a freezing smile as dazzling starlight suddenly shot out from his eyes. The Big Dipper bow created by the star power was drawn. Star dots started to congeal on an arrow before it shot out furiously. Starfall of the Big Dipper God Arrow. This arrow was connected tightly with the stars from 9 skies. Stars in the sky all twinkled, overwhelming even the bright moon. Star dots fell like a heavy rain over their heads. Starlight condensed in the sky, turning into the fist-sized stars. They all carried an imposing star energy, moving according to the trajectory Shi Yan had in his mind, as they rumblingly bombarded Heaven Temple's warriors. Warriors of the Heaven Temple that came here this time didn't have high realms. Their realms were lower than the spirit realm. No matter how hard they tried to dodge, they couldn't avoid the star bombardment of the starfall. Starlight glowed on them as their living fluctuation faded away and their aura disappeared. Warriors who had the spirit realm had more falling stars aimed at them. All of a sudden, they found themselves confined in a star barrier. They couldn't move, and their consciousness became hazy. Right at this moment, Shi Yan aimed his arrow and shot it. The Big Dipper arrow shot out like the meteor chasing after the moon. Many meteors shot out from the Big Dipper bow at the same time, darting rapidly as if they could pierce through space, thrusting through the flesh bodies of those Heaven Temple's warriors. Puff puff. Blood splashed as the Heaven Temple's warriors had their bodies tattered. Even Qiu Hong, who could see the martial technique beforehand, couldn't gather his luck to escape. 3 meteors shot at his legs, breaking his bones. War Devil seized the chance and covered the man with its dark halo. Then, it fiercely attacked him. Di Shan and Li Zhengrong took the opportunity when the Heaven Temple's warriors were disorderly panic-stricken to harvest their lives one by one. A magical black ball emerged from Shi Yan's palm. Just like a wandering spirit, it moved around the dead warriors and collected their souls. While entangling in the battle with Fiery Dragon, Comoros saw the Heaven Temple's warriors die. He was shaken, as he wanted to throw the written charm scripture there so as it could absorb the souls. However, right after that, he saw the soul-gathering pearl had taken all the souls. Comoros felt a chunk of blood stuck in his throat. He was so indignant that he wanted to shout and die. He wanted to trouble Shi Yan. The reasons he wanted to kill the Dark Devil clan, besides the humiliation, was because he wanted to collect souls through slaughtering. This would supply the energy to help their patriarch awaken. Seeing Shi Yan using the soul-gathering pearl to snatch the souls of the dead warriors before they vanished, he was enraged. Shi Yan! Ji Mu and Yuing suddenly cried, their faces frightened. Shi Yan glared at them with an indifferent countenance. What? Are you crazy? Yu Ying's eyes filled with worries. Do you know what you are doing? If you do that, even the cult master can't protect you. You've turned your back to the 7 ancient factions. Qin Guchuan of the Heaven Temple would never spare your life. He will stimulate the other ancient factions to kill you, your friends, and your family. Yu Ying came here this time to deliver Yun Hao's message to Shi Yan, asking them to visit the secret domain, where they would have a thorough discussion to see if they could find a solution to bring the Yang family to the ice and fire secret domain. Yun Hao had such a risky plan because he appreciated Shi Yan and wanted to gather the force of the Yang family. He had tried his best to carry out this plan. As far as he was concerned, the alien tribes were raging here and there. If Shi Yan's team stayed outside, they would be all dead sooner or later. It would be better if they could go to the secret domain and join their force to fight against the hotshots of the pagan clans. Ji Mu and Yu Ying came here with goodwill. However, they found that Shi Yan wanted to kill the warriors of the Heaven Temple. Once this affair was revealed, Shi Yan would never have a chance to be with the 7 ancient factions. Yes, I'm about to get crazy. Shi Yan looked calm. I'm not going to bring my men to the ice and fire secret domain. I don't want to see us as the fish in the fish tank who will never have a chance to escape. About the other stuff. I even killed Chu Baiqing, let alone these guys. You killed him, indeed. Xiao Hong screeched. True, Shi Yan stood nonchalantly. Chu Baiqing's dead. Ning Duquan's dead. You will be dead too. You've killed my people. It's just tit for tat. People who come here today will not leave this place alive. All of you. I want to see how many warriors Heaven Temple can send here for me to kill continually. He continued to gather and condense the star energy as he knocked the arrows and shot them like a furious storm. He killed them one by one, except for Qiu Hong, to prove his words. Ji Mu and Yu Ying were petrified. They were totally struck dumb. Chu Baiqing's death made them realize that Shi Yan was really crazy. Just like Tian Emperor, he wanted a big fight at any cost. So, do we need to linger here? Ji Mu beamed a forced smile, looking at Yu Ying as he didn't know what to say in this situation. You guys shouldn't think about leaving this place, either. Shi Yan's face became cold. Yu Ying discolored. She got enraged immediately. Shi Yan, you won't spare me, will you? I don't want to disclose things happened today. No one can leave. Shi Yan was indifferent. Before I get to know of the plans of the 7 ancient factions, you have to stay where I can see you. If you guys want to go without my permission, don't blame me for being impolite. Ji Mu and Yu Ying were indignant, their faces grimaced. I have to be careful, Shi Yan was still calm. Ji Mu and Yu Ying couldn't shake him. I hope you will understand my worries. Going the same way with me at this moment isn't a bad thing to you guys. Di Shan, Oldly, watch them. Shi Yan let out a low shout. Then, he contacted the War Devil using his soul to ask it to be more watchful. After that, his eyes turned garnet. Negative energy burst out from his body as pallid tentacles jutted out from his pores. He looked eccentric and evil. The Sky Destroyer Divine Sword appeared in his palms, and the eyes on the sword opened. An evil, destructive energy fluctuation rippled, raking through every corner from him as its core. Qiu Hong's soul shivered. His mind perception martial spirit sent him an intimidating fear. He felt hopeless. Lock. Shi Yan's garnet eyes gazed at him, and then he roared suddenly. It was as if thunder reverberated in Qiu Hong's head. Blood dripped down from 7 holes in his face while he was shaking uncontrollably. Di Shan, War Devil, and Li Zhengrong seized the chance to attack him. Immediately, Qiu Hong's blood and flesh exploded. His soul was like a balloon that was blown too much and burst directly. Shi Yan pointed at Ji Mu and Yu Ying. Wait until the situation gets better. I won't maltreat you. If you still want to leave, don't blame me for being merciless. Then, he held the Sky Destroyer Divine Sword, with the 3 snow-white bone thorns in his sleeves, and walked to Komaros while the pale tentacles were wiggling around his body. The soul-gathering pearl floated behind him. It was dragging Qiu Hong's soul into the bead. Essence Qi of Qiu Hong's group turned into invisible energy that naked eyes couldn't observe. They were flying from everywhere and connecting with the tentacles jutted out from his body, making his appearance more evil and frightening. Chapter 638, Negative Field. Chapter 638, Negative Field. None of the Heaven Temple's warriors, including Qiu Hong, escaped death. Under Shi Yan, Di Shan, and Li Zhengrong's slaughter, they were all dead bodies now. Ji Mu and Yuing were indignant. They wanted to fight with Shi Yan, but when they witnessed Qiu Hong getting killed easily, they felt a chill in their hearts. The energy they had accumulated discreetly slipped away. It wasn't that they were scared, but they didn't want to see both sides bear losses. And they didn't want to cause grudge against Shi Yan. In their eyes, Shi Yan was crazy at this moment. He didn't have his cognition with him now. Facing with him under such circumstances wasn't a wise move. They wanted to wait until Shi Yan restored his calmness to discuss again. Ji Mu and Yuing didn't move, waiting at their spots in silence. Their eyes were bright, looking at Shi Yan without blinking. They didn't care about the gazes that came from Di Shan, Li Zhengrong, and War Devil. Shi Yan had told them his ideas. As long as they didn't hasten and act rashly, they didn't need to worry about being oppressed. Di Shan and Li Zhengrong trusted Shi Yan completely, and they would always follow his words. Ji Mu and Yuing observed Shi Yan's demonic appearance as fear and surprise arose from deep inside their eyes. The pale finger-sized tentacles covered his entire body, condensed from the negative energy, between 1 to 3 meters long. Looking at him from a far distance, Shi Yan didn't look like a human anymore. He now appeared as a beast or demon that frightened people. Yuing and Ji Mu could see that those tentacles weren't real. They were just condensed energy. However, each tentacle was releasing terrifying soul fluctuations. Even on standing a couple hundred meters from him, Yuing and Ji Mu seemed to be affected. The desires in their hearts were stirred up, generating negative moods. They were petrified, although they knew Shi Yan didn't aim at them, as he didn't treat them his enemy. The ones Shi Yan considered his enemies were Comoros, Cassidy, and Vision. His surging soul fluctuation from the tentacles only aimed for those three. A magical soul field was created by the pallid tentacles, turning them into soul ribbons, tying Comoros, Cassidy, and Vision. A negative, chaotic aura surged from Shi Yan like a rising tide. The negative moods rumblingly covered the three of them, as if they were submerged in the deep ocean. However, this mood just stayed for 3 seconds. Afterward, from deep inside their eyes, the feeble light of desires flashed. A kind of energy that could distort the sea of consciousness filled the space around Shi Yan. The tentacles, emerged from his acupuncture points, constantly released the negative moods, creating a magical negative field, which affected all kinds of creatures around him. Fiery Dragon and Bloodmaned were also affected. The desires hiding in their inner world rose. Their minds were occupied as they had entered the bloodthirsty state, the basic instinct of the monster clan. Tian Emperor was also affected. He had already fallen into insanity. Under the effect of the negative field, his aura rocketed. Desperation filled his eyes, but his power increased one more time. Waves of blood sea rose and splashed one after another, striking on Cassidy. Cassidy felt his chest heavy and pressed, as blood trickled from the corners of his mouth uncontrollably. The blood wheel on Tian Emperor's hand shimmered with a bizarre red halo, covering half the sky. It even dyed the horizon blood red, and Cassidy sank in it gradually. Holding the Sky Destroyer Divine Sword in his hand, Shi Yan, at the third sky of Spirit Realm, could feel the magical effect of the negative energy deeply. He was still calm in the negative field. He gathered and poured the negative energy more into the sword, as more blood-red eyes opened one by one on the sword. The garnet pupils were like tongues of beasts, releasing an evil bloodlight that illuminated the whole area. A destructive intent domain emerged from the sword blade, expanding everywhere. Big trees shriveled, luxuriant green foliage yellowed and died, and insects stopped singing from deep underground. It seemed their life was reaped instantly. Shi Yan closed his eyes, adding the intent domain he had comprehended into the Sky Destroyer Divine Sword. The Death Intent domain became a place to slaughter, gradually pushing forward. At the same time, another vital soul thought of his shot towards Fiery Dragon and Bloodmaned. His soul thought gave back the vitality to Fiery Dragon and Bloodmaned, which saved them from the effects of the Death Intent domain. Also, It helped Tian Emperor promote his strength better. Shi Yan's death intent domain overflowed into the Sky Destroyer. A tranquil, sluggish thought started to transgress the area, while the foliage on its way had its life sucked away. Ji Mu and Yuing kept observing silently. They looked at the 1,000-year-old trees wither rapidly, as if they had been dead years ago. The luxuriant grass turned yellow, dried, and finally turned into dark fertilizer for the soil. The singing of insects disappeared instantly. These signs outlined the space in front of Shi Yan, which was wrecked by the formidable, endless, destructive intent domain. Ji Mu and Yuing couldn't stand the sight. Their eyes changed in fright. Eventually, they realized that if Shi Yan wanted to kill them, it wouldn't be a difficult task. Different from the brutal and crazy Tian Emperor, Shi Yan's attack didn't multiply or thunder. It was strangely quiet. But this quietness gave people a fierce anxiety. It was like the death embracing the earth. Shi Yan's attack was like a calm stream with his intent domain as the pioneer, followed by his powers, which carried some meanings of death and destruction in this world. His attack had seized the minds of the three true God realm warriors, Comoros, Cassidy, and Vision. They couldn't maintain their sound mind anymore. The furious fiery dragon and Bloodmaned were calmed down by his vital soul light. The two hotshots of the monster clan looked at the situation around them, staying silent. Tian Emperor was the only warrior who wasn't affected much. He was still bombarding Cassidy. With the blood wheel in his hand, he looked like a bloody-skinned man. Everybody would shiver at the first at him. Cassidy had lost his mind. He forgot to use the advanced soul of the Ghostmark clan while wrestling with Tian Emperor. They were entangling with each other in close combat. With only one glance, Shi Yan knew Cassidy was over. Tian Emperor would crush him fiercely. Shi Yan had experienced the bursting power of the Yang family's immortal martial spirit in close combat. Tian Emperor's immortal martial spirit had a high level. As long as he hadn't burned all of his immortal blood, he could have an undying body. Only someone who had mental problems would want to fight face to face with him. Cassidy was that sort of a person. Help me kill that hotshot of the Dark Spirit clan. Shi Yan was calm. His eyes were like the tranquil water in the well as he talked to Fiery Dragon and Bloodmaned. Kill him. We all gain benefits. Fiery Dragon and Bloodmaned were hesitant. At this moment, they couldn't decide. They exchanged looks and used the distinctive body gestures of Monster Clan to communicate. They were from the Monster Clan, one of the alien tribes. Cooperating with Shi Yan had violated their rules already. If they joined Shi Yan and killed the members of the Ghostmark clan and the Dark Spirit clan, once it was exposed, the consequence would be like Shi Yan's. The 7 ancient factions would reject them. They would become the crooked traitors of the Monster Clan. They had shouted, telling Comoros and Vision to wait and see their deadly powers. However, at this point, they were hesitant. Shi Yan frowned as he changed his mind. His eyes gave people an ancient, torrential aura. The Big Dipper bow was created one more time. He touched his chest as countless star dots gushed out, turning into clusters of light which were as big as a finger and shot forward thunderously. This attack seemed to provoke the stars in the sky again. Abundant starlight above their heads showered like the water of the Milky Way. Starlight poured into the clusters of star dots, turning into the sharp star arrow, covering all members of the Ghostmark clan who Comoros had led to this place. He closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, they were blood red. Flows of negative energy diffused from the tentacles on his body. At that moment, Shi Yan's evil aura rocketed. Shortly after 3 breaths, his aura had surpassed Tian Emperor. Third sky of Rampage Realm. Shi Yan's eyes were tranquil. They didn't carry any emotions a human should have. He looked like an evil, ancient creature from the foreign land, arrogantly looking at the creatures under his eyes as if he had the control of death in his eyes. Essence Chi from Qiu Hong and the warriors of the Heaven Temple had entered his body through the tentacles, stimulating his negative energy to the acme, making him evil and brutal. When he had entered the third sky of Rampage Realm the second time, the bursting energy he could urge now was intimidatingly formidable, something he had never experienced before. When it fused with his qi and the energy in his muscles, the combination had made the power he could control surpass young Tian Emperor. His eyes weren't wild and stubborn anymore. At this moment, they were so cold that they could chill people's hearts. He clutched the Sky Destroyer Divine Sword, walking deliberately. Occasionally, he swung his arm once. No blood light was generated from his hand movement. However, one of the Ghostmark clan's warriors exploded on the spot. Pieces of flesh scattered everywhere. Many warriors who came here with Komaros had the Spirit Realm cultivation vase. However, after each move of Shi Yan, they were like they had been tied tightly, unable to even wiggle. If someone scrutinized the scene, they would see the tentacles of his entire body jiggle furiously, as if they were capturing something. Only Shi Yan knew what the tentacles were coiling. It was the soul of the warrior. Although the Ghostmark clan was well known for their soul ability, they couldn't avoid the negative energy tentacles. Even if they stood 1,000 meters away, their souls would still be seized. It seemed those tentacles could appear directly in their sea of consciousness. They were bizarre and malicious indeed. Shi Yan took each step nonchalantly. People present there then saw the Ghostmark clan's hotshot, who was 1,000 meters away from him, explode. Afterward, the soul-gathering pearl would snatch their souls all, while Shi Yan's tentacles collected their essence qi. Shi Yan was now a devil walking on Earth, which could easily take lives of any creatures, snatching their rights to be alive. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.